Yes, indeed. It is D&D with GOG. Yo, you know me. I don't know why. I just it was there. The rhyme was there, and I felt it was necessary. What's going on, everybody? It is good to see all of you. Welcome, all the Goglings, Gogorifics, Gog peoples, and Gog types. Welcome all and sundry to episode 333 of Pen and Pixels. I am your host, Arvin Elleron. This is the show that we do here every Tuesday from the 4 p.m. or actually 4:15 p.m. is when we usually start with D&D to 7:15 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, focusing on story and narrative in games. And we are back today with some D&D with GOG, Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I am very excited to be back into this campaign. It's going to be awesome. And I hope you folks are ready as well, because I have a surprise for all of you lovely folks. That's right, I have a surprise for you, and I have a surprise for the players that I'm going to spring upon them at one opportune moment. But before we get there, just a couple of reminders about ways that you can support us here on the channel. If you have not done so already, please make sure to support us if you can by following the channel. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to subscribe to us here on the channel. You can get those DRM-free emotes and things like that to use everywhere across Twitch. That definitely helps support us as streamers as well, so that's always a pleasure. No, it is not Gray Shade. That's not about that, although I am very excited to talk about Gray Shade, but no, it is not about Gray Shade. It's a completely different surprise. So we've got that going on. Let me see, where else was I going with that? Yes, if you haven't done so already, please click through to our individual channels where we have our own Patreons and subsystems. And of course, in particular cases, Echo mentions Kickstarter's running because we do indeed have a Kickstarter running for Gray Shade. And I will just quickly mention the fact that Gray Shade right now is sitting at 10,254. We are not quite halfway through the Kickstarter. We definitely have a ways to go, but we've made excellent progress, and we would love to have you jump on board with this. I just announced today that we have, of course, as you know, a role-playing game which is part of this, the Gray Shade 5e-based RPG, actually, and that there are 5 starting classes, but when we hit 200 backers on the Kickstarter, we will add a 6th class that backers will be able to vote on. So that is pretty exciting. And in addition to that, Trendane Sparks, the voice of Santiago Espinoza on Battletech, is going to be doing the audiobook for Gray Shade, and we announced today that that audiobook is going to become a thing once we are funded. So before it was a stretch goal, now it's an actual thing when we are funded. So that's super exciting, and and I'm very excited about that. And so definitely go and support that if you can. We will be back here at 9 p.m. Eastern on my channel, actually, to talk more about that Gray Shade game. But right now, what we've got going on, of course, is the incredible D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And so I'm going to unmute myself and apologize to whoever I may have interrupted at that time. And then I'm going to quickly check on this stuff with Discord and make sure I'm not missing anything. It appears that I am not. Okay, great. And then I'm going to unmute them and head on over to reveal to you the incredible crew of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. My goodness, look at these fine people that are before you and are ready for their surprise, which I am not going to immediately give them. You know, the thing about a surprise is that you want to make sure that you just wait a little bit, that you just kind of hang on to it. I know it's important. You know, if I just immediately gave that to them, and, you know, some people might say that's removing worry or anxiety or stress, but really what it is removing the kind of tension that makes such a great viewing experience. So why would we do that when we could just keep the players on tenterhooks and all that kind of good stuff? So we will see. But in any case, it is very good to see these lovely folks here. And while we get ready here, I am going to, as always, let the fine people introduce themselves. And I will begin with someone who somehow managed, it has just occurred to me, to avoid being singled out. My friend Pyron Jade, who I always go around and I always ask the players how they're doing. And I came to Pyron and she's like, no, not now. You know, can you go to somebody else? Like blah, 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 blah first. And I was like, okay. So I go to somebody else. And now I realize that she avoided me asking how she was doing. So I will now officially ask, how are you doing, Pyron? How's life in the universe with you, and who are you playing today?
So things are happening in my life. So my older son, who's 10 years old, has now discovered Magic the Gathering. Because I live in a quite rural area, and there's always these like summer activities for the kids. And so one summer activity was like Magic the Gathering afternoon. He was like, "Mom, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, let me tell you."
You will learn.
And so he actually signed up for that with his best friend, and they're going there. And I was like, "But you need to learn about the game there before a little bit. Let me get a box." And so I got one of those giant IKEA boxes.
Okay.
And so we've been teaching him and his best friend Magic the Gathering for a few days now, and it's pretty funny. So yeah, that's what's going on.
And is he enjoying it as much as you hoped he would in the process of teaching him?
He is totally, absolutely into it. But I wonder how his friend's parents, like his best friend's parents, will react, because I already got their son into Blood Bowl, into D&D, Fate Core, and Talisman Adventures RPG, and now he's coming home with Magic the Gathering.
It's fine. You're that parent, though. Just know you're that parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the bad influence parent.
That's great. It's going to be such an enjoyable experience for them growing up until he gets outbought by people in Magic and then realizes the terrible. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that only I had that experience.
I actually had a phone call with a good friend yesterday who is still playing Magic the Gathering, like a friend of Ebenezer and me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, just put your old card into his deck. Just do it. It's gonna be so weird for everybody." I'm like, "Yeah, maybe I should."
Black Lotus. What is this? Like, yeah,
I'm not gonna give stuff like that to him. I don't have stuff like that. But I stopped playing about 10 years ago, so that's why my youngest cards are more or less around.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, maybe a little plateau or some Birds of Paradise, stuff like that is
Birds
possible,
of Paradise. So. Oh yeah, back in the day.
So we're gonna see. But tonight, no Magic the Gathering, but Paladin. So I'm playing Waves Crashing Against Rock, a Kenku Paladin, a deck-based Paladin actually that very much enjoy playing. And as a Kenku, she can make all kinds of noises that she can copy and mimic. And she is very, very impatient, and she would really like to steal a bird, because not all paladins are good paladins.
Interesting. That's true. I have this image somehow of Waves, like the alter is the anti-paladin, like that's the end of movie 2, right? Like just like, no, not Waves. So we will see. I am excited to see how Waves manages things. It is good to see you, Pi. I'm glad to hear about these other aspects and about teaching your son properly. This makes me sad because my daughter, little Larv, is away at camp for 2 weeks. And anyone who has ever heard me blab on about my amazing child will know that I miss her terribly when she's not around. So my son, Kalen, is wonderful as well. And he is here when he's not at his own day camp. But man, I'm just like, I'm too young for empty nest syndrome. I can't have that yet. Anyway, but it's good to see Pyron. Moving right along down the line in this particular case, I descend to someone who always has the coolest shirts. Although I can't tell, Saber, what is that shirt? What is that? Oh, is that Discworld?
Yeah.
So we're okay. All right. Good. So we've got the back of the turtle with the whole thing. Good. Anything that's involving Pratchett is a good reference. Which also my daughter loves. Thanks, Saber. That's great. Thank you.
There's a city builder coming out that's you build on the back of a giant turtle.
There is?
Into space. Yes,
Oh,
I've forgotten the name of
slick.
it, but I'll because I've got that immediately got my interest.
That's really slick. Yeah, I saw there's a new Warhammer CRPG coming out from Owlcat, which is pretty wild and stuff, but I had not heard about that. That's cool. Dark Saber 2K is with us. It's good to see you, Saber. How are you when not wearing cool shirts? How's life with you and everything, and who are you playing today?
I'm very good, thank you. Same old. As I was saying, tried Icewind Dale for the first time since I seem to be just going back. Right, what haven't I played that I need to have played? I need to fix that. So I tried Icewind Dale on Sunday, and it's really, really good. I'm looking forward to getting to that in about 8 months when I'm finally done with all the Baldur's Gate. I think probably about halfway through Siege of Dragonspear now, so I've just got that and all of Baldur's Gate to go.
How are you feeling about Siege of Dragonspear compared to BG1?
I'm liking it.
Yeah,
I'm really liking it. I genuinely am not seeing where people's split opinions are coming from him, really.
Yeah, it's just because
Some
it
of
was
the
the typical.
writing's
It's not
but
BioWare, so that means or whatever. It's not a Black Isle, so that means it's like, come on.
some of the writing's not great, but some of it's fantastic, so it evens out. Some of the
Right,
voice acting is hilariously bad, like lots of slipping accents, but we're having fun with that. It's like, oh, you're trying for Scottish, bless you.
by
Things
way
like
of
that.
Northern Ireland, maybe, or
Yeah.
something. Who are you playing today, Saber?
Today, I will be Morthiel Gorgoniant, a dwarven artificer who really doesn't know what to do with the rest of this party at the moment.
Yeah, every time I talk to you about that, Martha's like, who is very troubled. Like every time it's just like,
Who
it's
is
really
here.
who is sir not appearing in this picture because what is going on? It is good to see Darksaber as always, and thank you as well as always for Dashboard and Moobot, etc. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Morthwheel does things, and that's going to lead me up to our good friend Peripheral Mike Smith. It's good to see you, Mike. How is life in the universe and everything with you? As again, the room on point, the decorations always on point, everything looking good. And also, can I also say, as I'm starting to do this TikTok stuff a little bit for the Gray Shade stuff, I have been noticing people's TikTok's games a bit. So your TikTok game, as usual, on point with Silvo, etc. How's life with you in the universe, and who are you playing today?
Yeah, really good, thank you. So I hope everyone's having an absolutely wonderful evening. I'm having an excellent week. It's been really, really good. I've got lots of work that is coming in the pipeline. I've even been giving some thoughts to streaming and other content creation like that I can start putting out. In regards to the strongman stuff, I recently hit 2 personal best records as well, which is really good. So yeah, it's been a really productive, really good, energizing week and weekend. Did some DIY as well, painted the house, shared some pictures amongst you guys, which was really nice as well. Apparently, Ananda and I have incredibly similar tastes. Who'd have thought it? But yeah, it's a really, genuinely, really good week. Very, very good vibes all around. And I hope everyone has the goodest of vibes. Tonight, I'm going to be playing, or continuing to play, Silvo Janus Betulus, our half-elven sorcerer with a slightly dark magical past. And he's recently had a bit of an interaction with a different plane of existence that he didn't want to really have, so he's trying to recover from that at the moment.
I was going to say, like, speaking of vibes, not on the good vibe side would be what's going on with
not
Silvo.
on the positive vibe. No,
yeah, we're going to deal with that aftermath in just a bit. But always a pleasure, Mike, to have you on board and to have Silvo back with us. And last but certainly not least, of course, the aforementioned similar house-tasted, if that's a term that I just made up, Ananda. Good to see you, Ananda. How is life in the universe with you? Can you confirm that you and Mike go to the same home decorating like environments type of thing? Like, is this just a thing that everybody at in a certain place in the UK does? Like, how does this all work? And who are you playing today?
Absolutely. We've been sharing hints and tips and paintbrushes and all sorts. But yeah, apparently Mike and I have exactly the same taste in decorating. So I finished my sitting room, but Mike has also kitchen paint. Kitchen paint is the way forward.
Yeah, that's a damn good idea. Yeah.
That room is kitchen paint, just so you can see how it looks. Anyway, yeah, I've not been too bad, thank you. Ticking along, it's a busy week this week. July is going to be a fairly busy month for me. I finished on stream today, Night in the Woods. Fantastic game,
That's
available on GOG.
Yep.
Which I really enjoyed. I've also been stepping outside of my comfort zone within my stream as well. So I've been playing my first ever Souls game.
Oh.
I'm awful at it, but I'm really enjoying it.
Is it Dark Souls, or did you play, or which one did
Dark
you play?
Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3, I see. Because I think, is it 2 is the one that everyone's like, that's terrible, but 1 and 3 are expert. I don't know. I feel like Souls people are very clear about which games work and don't work.
I'm going to lean out of this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's been really, really supportive, particularly since I'm not good at those games, which is why I don't play them. But I'm stubborn, which kind of makes up for things. So, for example, it took me 87 attempts to get past the first boss. But we're past the first boss. So
there you go.
But other than that, not too shabby. Thank you very much. This evening, though, I am going to be continuing playing Brine the Bloodthirsty, who is a water genasi pirate fighter. Her heart's in the right place. She doesn't always make the best, most thought out decisions, but she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. However, she is very, very team focused. She wants to make sure her team, her family, her crew are safe, which is her top priority. However, the way we handle this next situation might determine how safe the crew actually is.
I see. Well, I am going to be interested to see how that all breaks down for you today. And I'm looking forward to more from Brian the Bloodthirsty. Always a pleasure to have Inanda with us. And so we have our crew together. And just one sec here as I get my map set to go. And hang on a moment as I got that logged in. Okay. So yes, and I think if I slide over to, okay. So now I had promised this crew, and I had promised all of chat, and I like to stick to my promises. I had promised that there would be a surprise forthcoming. And there is indeed a surprise that is forthcoming. And that surprise is, in fact, joining the Zoom chat. And this person is coming on now. And well, look at who this actually might be. Now, everyone's like, what are you saying? I can't see it, Arvis. Give me a second. There we go. I believe that is our very own Fleos that I see here. And it is possible that everyone's favorite Canadian has joined us. I'm going to have to fix the window on Mike's thing, but I will do that for a moment. Hey, it's Fleos. But yes, we are joined today by Fleos. He couldn't stop it. He was just like, look, I've got to do this, and either you do this or I'm going to make your life hell. And I was like, all right, please don't hurt me. I'll do that. And, so he just sort of forced his way in. That's not at all what happened. We've actually been talking about this for a while. I would love to have Fleos as a part of the campaign more regularly, but because of teaching and all that, I'm not able to do it. But it is, of course, the summertime. And so we are joined by our good friend Fleos. Fleos, it's good to see you. How is life in the universe and everything with you? And who are you going to be, as it turns out, playing today with our crew?
Well, hello. I'm wonderful, thank you. Today was the last day of school for me, so we're a little different compared to the American school system because you guys have been out for weeks and weeks now, I think. But yeah, so I came straight home from work. And here I am. School got out a little early even, so I'm really happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
It's
Surprise.
Great. It is great to have you. And who are you playing today? I have my title already prepared.
Yes. So I am Oceanus, the sea elf warrior, which is a sidekick class in D&D. So I'm your warrior sidekick, everybody.
I actually noted here as I'm looking at this that like the way it fits in your window is slightly smaller. So it almost looks like you're just like, hi everyone. It's just because obviously I can't be like, can we have a 5-person overlay? Because then obviously the game's up, so instead we have this. So yes, playing Oceanus today, and Oceanus is here, is of course Fleos. Now, Pyron makes a good point, which is that Oceanus does not speak Common. We spoke about this. However, does speak Elvish and will be able to communicate with, I believe we said, sort of basic symbols to brine because of brine's sort of sea connections. And then waves, because waves can, I think we figured the reason waves got to it is because waves is so good at imitating language, right? That waves was able to basically duplicate what Oceanus says. Isn't that right, Pyron? I think that's how we said.
I can repeat what he says, but it doesn't mean that I understand it.
You don't understand
I
it,
can
right?
just completely say it.
Yeah. So Morthwill and Waves don't understand, but Waves can say it. Silvo does understand, and Brian can sort of vaguely understand. So you put all that together and you end up what we have here. We decided to do it this way because the other option would have been to do an entirely new character, and that would have been a lot longer before I could introduce anybody unless I made, Fleos and Lizardmen, which is possible. I should have done that. I should have been just like, and then we would have heard a lot of hissing from Fleos all day, which would have been appropriate for some of the Thief games that he plays. But no. So we're doing this. So we're doing Oceanus. It's a pleasure to have Fleos with us. Chat's like, echoes like, Fleos, Triffid, E. Did not know this was happening. So wait, when you said you saw stuff in Roll20, wasn't it? It was something else?
No. Mike was down as Gwyn, so I thought Mike was going to be maybe changing to a new character after what happened last time.
I thought the jig was up. I was like, oh crap.
No, I see.
So when you popped in and you were
no.
genuinely like, oh wait, I was like, oh, okay, good.
I was looking going, no, hang on, that was from ArvCon.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
There was some subterfuge as well, because when we were sharing house pictures, Fleos shared a picture of him in his car, parked, obviously, not driving illegally or anything. So it looked like you weren't even at home anyway. So I call shenanigans.
Very well played there. Very well.
That's right. Listen, this is the way it goes. So very, very excited to have them with us. And I believe, by the way, this makes clearly this current D&D stream the most international stream currently on, because we have, I'm going to separate out, I'm sure they'll forgive me. We have someone from Germany, someone from Wales, 2 people from England, 1 person from Canada, and then United States. So we've got 5 different countries right here. So I just want to point that out. 5 countries, international. Let's do it. All right. It's great to have Fleos with us. Thank you, Fleos. Always a pleasure. I'm excited to have you with us, and let's get to it, chat and players, as I fire up a little bit of music. We are on an ocean voyage still, so we're going to fire up a little bit of music like that. No, I really would like some music. There we go. That's what I need. There we are. Okay. In our last session, the party is on board the Sea Ghost. This is a ship that formerly belonged to a group of smugglers that the group had themselves been brought to try to bring to heel, or at least initially to figure out what was happening, and then it turned out that it was a smuggler's ship, and not just a smuggler's ship, but perhaps even a slaver's ship that had been doing even worse things up and down the coast and around the environs of Saltmarsh. And so the party had gone out. Some of them, and I'm thinking in particular of a Kenku in particular, was really, really into wanting a boat. Not the only one, but the Kenku is the one who keeps talking about the boat. So that was why. But anyway, also wanted a boat. But they wanted to be able to sort of bring this smuggling operation to heel. When they got to the boat, a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, and that is that negotiations didn't quite go the way as were planned. A fight broke out. They defeated some of the pirates, but couldn't defeat all of them, and they were thrown into the brig. And they were a little bit worried about what they found there. And one of the things they found was a secret entrance out of the bilge hold, basically up into a place where Oceanus, a sea elf, had been kept captive. Now, Oceanus has come to this ship in the first place because the chief of his tribe had sent him to basically find out the same thing the party was doing, except instead of coming from Saltmarsh, he was coming from their environs below the sea. The sea elf had told him, Sea Elf King had told him, you need to find out what's going on with these people. What are they? Are they dangerous? I'm talking about the smugglers here. And of course, same thing is happening with the rest of the party. What they ended up finding, even when they discovered Oceanus, is that they were not under the control of the smugglers anymore, because the group of lizard men, which had originally apparently been taken by the smugglers, had broken free of their captors, seized control of the ship, killed most of the smugglers, and now have the ship. That's the good news. Not so good news is that the lizard men are now sailing the boat back towards apparently their home to the west of Saltmarsh, because they don't make north up in these maps, to the west of Saltmarsh, and they're going to their home there. And again, this is very unsure because none of the party really speaks lizard man either, but something about maybe they're going to invade Saltmarsh, although it's really unclear as to what the lizardmen want, but it seems kind of scary. In the midst of this, though, things went badly wrong for Silvo. Silvo had an episode, essentially, where he had a terrible nightmare and was contacted by these forces from his dark past, and suddenly there were tentacles that came out of his body, these spectral tentacles which began slapping and hitting and punching and doing all these things. It was rather terrifying, and at the end of our last session, we were left with Waves looking in, sort of disturbed and horrified, Morthwill right around the edge of the door, having heard this at least, Brine in the room sort of staring, Oceanus behind them, and I'll tell you what Oceanus said in just a moment, and last but certainly not least, Silvo, who was saying, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. If I'm not mistaken, that's what you were saying.
It.
And so the last thing is I almost said Fleos, because I'm looking right at you with your name. What Oceanus actually said, and Fleos, I think that's actually a good spot for you to pick up here. If you remember what the last thing was that Oceanus said, if not, I'm happy to tell you at the end of that session, and then we can pick up from there as I hand things back over to the party.
Yeah, so the last thing Oceanus said was something to the effect of, I wrote it down, where did it go? Where did it go? Right. He said to the party somehow, through their multiple ways of communicating, we need to talk. There's something bigger going on that you need to know about. ...
And that's where we pick up now. So now I'm going to hand things back over to the party. You folks know what's going on there. I will also point out as I head over to the map here, where I have to. Oh shoot! I have to add Fleos in there too. Just a moment. I'll add you also. But okay, I'll get that. I'll get that sorted.
You should have a 5-player screen for this screen.
Really? For
Well, let me look it up.
For cams only? I might, but I certainly wouldn't have it set to go, though, even if I did. It's possible, but... okay, there we go. There's Flares. I just need to get them above the overlay. Besides, I need to show people the map regardless, so in this case, it's fine. So I do want to mention that there are lizard men surrounding and right around Morthwill, and some of them have also heard / somewhat seen this reaction that Silvo just had. So you also have that problem you'll have to contend with. So just letting you all know about that too as we're in the process of going through. Okay, now I will hand things back over, as I say to you, as I get Fleos' picture set.
Can I, because I'm in the doorway, can I turn around and see what kind of reaction the lizard men are having?
Yeah, the lizard man who was right there is kind of hissing and clearly perturbed, and is kind of stepping back and away. Not clear exactly what's going to happen after that, but is kind of just definitely not making any hostile moves, just backing up, basically.
Okay.
At this point, Silvo is just inconsolably sobbing into his arms, like he's crawled up in the fetal position in the corner of the room.
I'm assuming he's kind of back to his normal shape now.
Yes. Well, he was always his normal shape. So what essentially what happened was, so the tentacles have gone away. Is basically what happened.
I'm gonna tentatively walk forward and slowly, without wanting to alarm Silvo at all, put a comforting arm around him.
So for reference point, you've seen this exact thing happen before when he got bit by the giant ferret outside the mansion, and a bunch of black tentacles appeared from nowhere and just beat the ferret away. This is exactly the same thing, only it only had a bit of a ship to attack. So all you can see is just like sizzling drag marks down the woodwork, and if there's anything alive in there, like plants or anything like that, there's a definite chance that they're all dead at this point. But Silvo just there's no reaction from him. He's just crying into his arms.
Okay, I'm still gonna put like a comforting arm around sobbing Silvo, and turn to Oceanus, and in my best aquatic sign language, say, okay, I think you need to explain what something bigger is.
Okay. So first thing is actually he's gonna turn to you. Well, he's looking at you, I suppose, and he's gonna say in a different sounding voice than you've heard before, "Loqueris primordial." And so, if you speak one of the, not just you, anyone in the room who speaks a primordial language, so Aquan, Aran, Ignan, or Terran,
I
you
speak
will
Aran.
actually be able to understand that. Okay. So Waves understands this as
So only poor Morthwill has no idea. Like, what the hell?
I don't think I've got anything. I'm just cross-referencing on
Yeah.
Beyond D&D.
Well, there was just like 3 different languages, and I can't speak any of them.
So Waves recognizes Inandi sorry, Brian doesn't speak any of those languages though, I'm assuming.
I don't think so. I'm desperately looking to see what languages Water Genasi understand. Keep talking. I will.
Okay,
try and
okay.
catch up.
So he's going to continue on in that language, but I'm not going to pretend to continue on in that language.
I do speak
so-
primordial. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then you understand too. He's going to stay speaking the primordial language, and Morthwheel will just be on his own for now, I guess. And hopefully you guys translate.
I will translate under my breath.
Okay. We can't know what to make of this right now. Are we sure the lizard men are evil? Are we sure that Silvo is good? Is he on our side? Have you seen this before? I'm very concerned. Sahanine gives strange gifts at times, but I've never heard of a gift like this.
We've seen a little something like this, but Silvo was in danger. We all were, and his actions saved us at the time. He's always acted with our best interests at heart. I trust him.
You trust him. He was the first to show me kindness, I feel. I worry that we can't trust him. Or maybe he can't trust himself. What do we do? Like, how do we control this? Is there a way? What happened last time? It just ended like today?
It ended like today once the danger has subsided, but he wasn't quite this distraught last time.
You can see, by the way, the guard has now gone off and is hissing to the other lizard men who were all looking with, relative speaking to lizard expressions, sort of dark looks in all of your directions.
It's understandable.
We don't know what happened with the lizard men. They haven't been outwardly too hostile towards us, with the exception of a few disagreements. However, I feel that we need to be aware that they have intimated that they are planning to attack the town of Saltmarsh. I don't think anyone of good intent or character would profess to attacking an innocent town, or at least some innocents in the town.
I would presume no, but at the same time, we are presuming their intentions. We don't speak their language, but it's I'm very concerned.
We did. There's one that speaks a little bit of common, and he, to my best of my understanding, said that they are planning to sail this ship back to, forgive me whilst I look at my notes, where was it that they said they wanted to go back to?
It was a marsh. What was it?
Yeah, it was a marshy
kind of marsh.
area where they are from, where they can get recruits and sail back to and attack Saltmarsh. This is what they said to me, thinking that we would help them. I do not want to help them.
Are you prepared to sink the ship?
I would rather steal the ship, but if we have to, then we have to.
Thank you. I'm glad you trust him. Will you stay with him? Are you ready? Are you prepared? And he's going to include Waves with this as well. Are you prepared to see this through to the end? Whatever that end may be.
Silvo
With
is part of
Silvo.
my crew. I will absolutely see this through. Did not mean for that to rhyme. I look at Waves and nods. I can't see Morthwell in my vision at the moment. We have watched each other's backs for a number of adventures, and although this crew is relatively small and new, we are strong of spirit, and we will absolutely be by Silvo's side.
And as long as I can, I'll support you as well.
I thank you, and I make some kind of aquatic bowing gesture that I feel would honor the water elves.
Oceanus reciprocates and then looks apologetically toward Morthwell and kind of gives an approximation of like a sorry nod. Very Canadian, of course. Just sorry. Sorry for talking a different language in front of you.
I am
spoke yours.
whispering like to Morthwell at the same time, so that I'm kind of translating as we go.
Okay, as you're doing that, by the way, thank you for Pyron has posted what we need. So this is again courtesy of the art department at the lovely folks with GOG.com. So here is our 5-player map thing. So now we're all good on the top. So at this point, Morthwell, I want to ask what you're going to do, because the lizard guards around you are very much like agitated as they've been hissing to each other, and now you can see that the chief is coming in your direction and looks like specifically, well, not towards you exactly, Morthwell, but towards the party in general, and looks like he wants answers, it looks like. So what would you like to do?
Well, Morthwell was out here arguing with him the whole time that they needed their weapons. So
right, exactly.
He knows probably about as much as the chief, really, apart from what he's overheard being whispered at him. Which, considering he was surrounded by 4 lizard men, probably wasn't as much as we might have liked.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the hissing and the hissing.
Exactly.
So Morthwell will step out of the chief's way. So probably step over here so we can actually see into the cabin as well, now that the crowd around the door's thinned out a little bit. So we'll probably get a look at some of the damage. You just hear under his beard, "Oh, paper cups, burnished balls. That doesn't look good."
And Waves, just let me check with you quickly, because these lizard men are on their way. Are you doing anything other? You were holding that mug, basically, and just kind of staring at the bed. So what would you like to do, if anything?
I think I threw water at Silver,
You
didn't I?
Yeah,
I think
you
you did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so that's I'm fine with this. So I'll just stand there as if nothing out of the ordinary in any way has happened.
Typical Tuesday. Just,
Yep, like maybe like patting Silver on the back for from time to time, like, tock tock tock, like what? Hey, could have been worse. Ship is still salvageable, apparently.
So now, Brine has put her arm around Silvo, and Waves is patting Silvo in the back. Is that right?
Not like continuously, not like a woodpecker, but from time to time.
Stop, tentacles!
Yeah.
It's like constantly poking Bruce Banner and like, oh, the Hulk. Whoops.
Yeah, like one of those whack-a-mole games. Oh, tentacle!
Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. So Silvo just sort of he shrugs out of Brian's arm and away from Waves, and sort of goes over to here and just sort of goes, just leave me alone. I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt you. I'm sorry. Just leave me alone.
And at this point, the lizardman chief comes around, and with him is the translator, such as it is, and he kind of glares at Oceanus and then walks past, and the guard is behind him. And actually, the guard that's with him, he has 2 guards. He's got one which is the translating guard, and then the one who did not translate or cannot translate, but is the one who was actually in the room and saw this stuff happening originally. So they come in, and the one who had been in the room is just sort of pointing and hissing, and the lizard man points at you, Silvo. You're not on the bed anymore. You're on that chair. Is that?
No, yeah. So he's well, furniture-wise, everything's in pieces.
Right,
'cause
yeah.
it goes-
Which
this
actually
goes to,
kind of
like,
looks like
10
that anyway, but
Yeah, basically. So
Okay.
the bed is like broken in half. The chairs and the table are just splinters at this point. But yeah, he's kind of sat on the floor in the corner,
Okay.
facing the corner.
so he comes in, and and you can see his eyes look fierce, and he points and is hissing in what, even without understanding Lizard Man, is clearly angry, hissing, and is pointing at Silvo. And the guard, who does not translate, is and kind of, apparently nodding in assent or the equivalent. And the last one, excuse me, who does translate, is looks at you. Actually, I guess it would be, Brian and Waves would be able to see. Looks at the both of you, and says, "Chief says he is danger, must go." And the chief nods and folds his broad, scaly arms, and just stands impassively, and stares at the back of Silvo.
Brian is going to kind of like edge towards Waves a little bit to try and obscure the chief's view directly to Silvo. And I'm going to like hold my hands up. I've got nothing in my hands, and say, "Look, my friend has got a condition, and we don't want him to be upset. However, if he feels threatened at all, or he feels his friends are being threatened at all, it might make him a little angry. So why don't we just back up a little bit and let him just relax a moment, and we can discuss this properly when my friend has calmed down."
While they're talking, the two guards next to me, are they paying Morthwell any attention, or are they more focused on the cabin where all the interesting things have been happening?
I mean, I don't think they've forgotten about you entirely,
No.
but they're definitely focusing their attention on the door of the cabin, yeah.
So if I maybe wanted to shuffle my position over here, so I'm sort of standing behind them.
Yep.
Nothing like overt, just, step backwards a bit.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do that. Because they are very much kind of just their attention is connected on that door. And you can tell now, as you're out here, that very clearly they have the word's gone around. Like, rumor spreads fast on a ship, right? And so something bad for you can tell because they're pointing at it and hissing and kind of looking darkly at the door right outside of which Oceanus is standing. Actually, Oceanus could see this too. That there's just there's very sort of disturbed hissing. And Oceanus, you've probably been on this boat long enough, even if you don't understand their language, to understand that this is very much the fear reaction, and also the fear and anger reaction. In fact, lizard men, which are very much responsive to scent, give off a certain particular kind of stench, when even more so than normal for a lizard man when they are afraid, and you get a little bit of a whiff of that now. Clearly the people around you, the lizards around you, are a little freaked out. And so inside the room, the chief says, so the guard translates for the chief, and then the chief says, "Yes," and shakes his head impassively and points at Silvo and says, "Yes," and jerks his thumb over his shoulder, and the guard says, "He must go. You cannot stay here."
Where do you expect us to go? And I use us rather than Silvo.
And so the chief looks around and looks at one of the guards, and the guards nod, and they go over to the longboat, which you see right here. And for those of you who've never been on the deck of a wooden ship, the longboats on that wooden ship were actually pretty sizable. They were designed to be able to, on whaling ships, you actually would go out and whale on those ships. You didn't whale directly from the back of the largest ship. But even on non-whaling ships, these things were designed to be not just tiny little lifeboats. So the lifeboat is there, and it was currently like on its side, I believe. So the chief goes back over to the door and hisses some commands to the guards out there. And Morthwill, these two guards here go off and to the behind you and pick up the boat, basically where it's on its side, and bring it over to the side of the ship. And there are ropes attached to the boat on the other side of it. And they using the ropes, lower the boat down about, a fifth of the way basically off the side, so it's still accessible from the deck. And then they turn around and wait. And the chief turns back to you and says, "Yes," and just points, jerks his thumb over his shoulder at the boat.
Morthwell would like to step over to here, if that's possible.
Okay.
So he's standing on the grate, and from his tool belt, he wants to try and casually draw his screaming pebble, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm. I think I do. Tell the fine folks what it is, though.
For those of you who don't remember, we went into a certain mansion as our first quest in this adventure, and we encountered a certain stairway, which a certain Kenku might actually have the sound effect for still.
Okay. Yep.
I think it didn't play.
No, it didn't play.
I didn't hear it.
Why did it not play? I looked so proud. One minute.
You did. You were really
You're
proud.
like, haha, where
Yes.
everyone's like,
Why? Everything seems.
no one wanted to be the first one to tell her.
Wait, check. You can hear the bells, right? No?
No.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
that's
Did
gone as
nothing.
well.
Oh. Oh no.
Incensed at your
why?
delay, the lizard chief. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry, why? But we
Oh,
checked it
wait,
before.
I hear
and
something. Maybe.
We checked it before and it
That's
worked,
just the
didn't
sound
it?
effects.
It did
Oh,
work
the
before.
background.
Those are my sound effects.
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, why is it gone? I do have the thing, but I don't know why it's all gone. I'm sorry. I'll try to fix it, but I don't know
That's
why
okay.
it's gone.
But yeah, well, the stairway, in a voice remarkably like our dungeon masters, made a screaming noise, which caused half our party to go full Scooby-Doo and not want to proceed any further.
I think it was something like, ah! It was something like that.
Pretty much exactly that, yeah. And
I don't need no
I
soundboard.
recorded that using my magical tinkering into a stone, which I've still kept with me all this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now going to drop that stone, or I'd like to drop that stone, through the grating into the hold.
Okay. You have it set on a trigger or a trigger word or something like that? Or is it when it hits the ground it does that? I don't remember how you're
It
thinking.
doesn't specify. It just says it's up to 6 second long recorded message. It doesn't really say what triggers it. I mean, theoretically, it's been screaming this whole time.
I was gonna say, otherwise it's just be like, "Woo," the whole time. I don't think it's
Yeah.
that though.
A
Yeah,
really
it doesn't-
annoying ringtone.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Mike.
Hey,
Okay.
Yeah,
There
there
we
it
go.
is.
yeah, there we
Yeah.
Okay, I fixed it.
go. The Kenku's back in the room.
Yeah.
It's like sound effects
Nobody-
back on the menu.
Which also means nobody heard the buttons that I was pressing like the whole time.
Nope, not until just now. So what was the so go ahead and do that sound effect if you have that other one.
Well, it's.
Oh, listen, who needs it? Haha. I'm your Huckleberry right here. Okay, but yeah, so that's really the question. I guess I would say because it's going to matter, Saber, in terms of the
Yeah.
on the effect in terms of whether it's like a delay or what.
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much got the entire text of it copied here, and it really doesn't
It doesn't say.
say anything about triggers.
let's say, I guess one way to look at it is that it's going to start making that sound the minute then that you pick it out of your pocket. I don't know that we have it screaming the whole time, but and then when you drop it, because that's the question, right? Whether somebody like hits it and does that trigger it or not, you know? But for the moment, I guess we'll assume that when the thing drops out of your pocket and hits the ground, then it's gonna give that, you know, type of thing.
Well, he's aiming to drop it through the grill.
Right. I figured, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, he's trying to do it very nondescript, so just like. Whoop.
So when that happens, and this sound comes echoing up the. So first of all, everyone is pretty tense already. You know, jumps. At least all the lizardmen do. They, you know, kind of look over, because the sound, of course, is like echoing out of the grate, and the two guards who were over by the boat where the rope has been secured to it, zip back over, and they kind of roughly, you know. Well, they first come over to the grate and they're kind of staring because you keep hearing, God, you know, down below. And a couple of the other lizards are looking back, and the king sort of hisses and kind of points at the one that does not translate, and that one goes over to the grate to look down into it.
What? Yes. Is Brian terrified? I was terrified last time. I was Scooby-Dooing.
I mean, my guess is that you would not have the same effect this time because you've heard this before and you're on a ship. So I would say not. I don't think there's any check in particular that you have to do. It's not a magical effect in terms of its effect on you. It's just, it's the same sound.
Okay.
Sounds familiar, actually.
Okay. Whilst this is all happening, I know that the chief has ordered the other lizardmen to get the longboat ready, which I'm assuming I can see that he's pointed towards it, so
yes.
I'll peek around the door. I would like to say in primordial to Oceanus, they want us off this boat. What do we need to do to sink it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I saw you. I'm role playing this as well.
Yeah.
I thought you had a plan. You don't have a plan. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
We've got tentacles.
I figure
at this point, Silver.
Okay.
Sorry, carry on.
Seeing as there's no plan, Seeing as there's no plan in this room, and I also recognize that noise, I go outside and I stare at Morthwell to see if he has a plan. Maybe this is part of a Morthwell plan. You never know. So I just walk out the door and stare in the direction of the grate where Morthwell is also standing, and I look at him to see if he gives off any clues what he wants to be.
The guards give way as you do this. One quick note, by the way, to Fleos about Oceanus. Oceanus did at one point previous in this venture mention that if need be, to protect people that they might would basically ask would you be willing to sink this ship if you had to or whatever type of thing. So that's one reference from previously before, but didn't specify here's the following 6 ways to do it. Although as a Sea Elf warrior, you might have some ideas, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, I remembered a conversation you had with Silvo, I think, in private about that, but
right.
That was about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, you were able to sort of see that. Morthwell, I don't know how you're reacting, but
he's selling it, so he's kind of dropped down and he's trying to look through the grate and listening. And if he sees anyone from the party, so Waves was coming over. Was anyone else?
I'm staying with Silvo.
The mother looks up at Waves. He's like, "We heard something like that before. Do you remember that ghost back in the mansion? Killed damn near the whole house before we sorted him out."
I nod and try to look terrified, ruffling my feathers and whoa.
Hey, we nearly joined him, all right.
You hear like the lizard men guards are kind of hissing down below. You still hear, "Ah!" And the lizard men guards are kind of like looking down, hissing to each other, hissing, overlooking at the room, at where Silvo is. And finally, the lizard chief kind of heads out this way, leaves one guard behind, kind of pushes past you, not super politely waves, I would say, and looks over at looks over at you. Whoops, wrong facing way. There we go. Looks over at you, Mirthwell, as you're looking down into the grate, and then hears the sound, and then goes over and kind of peers, over, looks down into the pit for a minute, and then shakes his head and stands up and does a and the translating guard here moves slightly in response, slightly out of the way, not all the way, but just sort of like halfway through the door. And the lizard chief hisses some things to him, and the guard, the translating guard, listens and then says, Chief says, you bring this upon us. He must go, or you all must. And you can see now that several other lizard guards have entered.
Is the lizardman that can speak common?
Yeah.
Where is that person?
Oh, right here.
How fortuitous. So Silvo has stood up, and you can see sort of lots of tears down his face, and he sort of walks quite slowly towards this person, this lizard man, and says, I understand, but maybe I could try to explain things a bit first. And he takes his coat off, and he just lets his coat fall to the floor. And remember, Silver's a very skinny elf. Like, he's one bad day's worth of food away from malnourishment. So he's definitely not a threat to this hulking lizard man. And you can see the tattoo down his arm, sort of writhing a bit still. The tribal tattoo with what looks like, if you pay close attention to it, it looks like small tentacle suckers on some sections of it, but you're not quite sure if that's a trick of the light or his arm hair or, just bad tattoo work. I'm not, 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then one of the ends of the tattoo will just sort of wriggle a little bit. And if you look at the whole thing itself, it all seems to just be a bit angry, like it's freshly done, if that makes sense. Whereas like a few minutes ago before the episode, it looked quite faded. And he shows his arm to the lizard man that can speak common and just say, I didn't mean to do this. I'm sorry.
And the lizard man guard kind of takes a step back and his eyes widen a bit and you do not know what you have, but your presence is a curse. You must leave this ship.
I will softly, with my non-tattooed hand, I will softly put my hand on his bicep, I guess.
Well, he will not allow that. He actually backs out of the way.
Okay. Then there's a definite pained look on my face to say, please, I need help. My crew won't leave me, and I don't know where to go. I'm not a threat to you, I promise.
And he kind of hisses and he says, the chief must decide. Cursed Landgore must remain with his own. He cannot... And he kind of trails off, and then... I cannot keep you here on this ship. The chief has said it.
But what if you could help me control this curse? What if I could use it for you? What if I could be useful?
And the one translating is obviously trying to kind of work out like what is useful.
If I can use this, as a weapon, I can help you.
And he sort of like kind of tilts his head and then speaks a couple of words to the chief, who has been looking down in the grate all this time. And then the chief kind of stands up from the grate, trying to figure out what's going on with the thing, and looks over at you, and then kind of looks at the guard, and the translating guard speaks, in Lizard Man, and the chief sort of looks over at you, kind of comes in and looks over at you, Silvo, and then says, "Too dangerous. We do not mess with creatures of the unknown. You must leave the ship."
Okay, I want to try and convince him at this point with the words.
Okay.
What's happened? This has happened to me. I didn't ask for this. I'm trying to fix something that's happened to me, and I need all the help I can get.
And so you say that, and the guard translates for the chief, and the chief shakes his head. And the guard translates that as, "Landcore must solve all the problems. We of the sea cannot do the same. It is up to the Landgoer to solve his problem, and not on the ship."
So at that point, Silvo just turns around. There's a almost a smirk on his face. He says, "But you asked for our help first. You asked us for our help, and now you're not willing to do the same?"
And the chief, once that's translated back and forth, the chief, hisses to the guard, and the guard says, "The chief says agreement before found out whatever you are, and now is different. Chief helps you by not killing you immediately."
There was a small part of me that thought you might be an honorable race of people, that you might not want to just lay waste to an entire city like Saltmarsh. But no, you're not. You're nothing more than animals.
And the Lizardman guard kind of hisses, and you can see in his light kind of one of his eyes narrows, and he says, and he, the honorable says, okay, and he says, "Lizardmen are honorable."
If you were honorable, you'd help someone in need. You'd help someone who was injured and terrified.
Must help own tribe, not strangers whose other land-goers kept us in bondage. We must help ours before we help others.
Yeah, I'm getting that. You must help yours before you help others. Then why did you let us out of the bilge?
Because we needed you to take this ship and teach us to sail back. And again, I'm now slightly accelerating the process of translating from the chief to the, but that's basically what you get. And the chief, the chief sort of like, so when you say that, the chief sort of hisses a couple of things, and the guard says, "Would have rewarded you for help at the end of journey, but not when dealing with a cursed thing. No more talk." And the chief points at the boat. And at this point, the guards come up, and you can tell the guards are not playing around. At least the chief isn't. They are clearly terrified. I mean, of the situation, I guess. And so they're kind of pointing at the boat, the longboat.
I look over to Brian and Waves because they're the only two people I can see, and there's a look of
I'm obviously observing and listening to this conversation, and I kind of chuckled to myself, and I went, "My friend is nowhere near that scream. What makes you think that it's my friend that has the curse? Maybe the ship is cursed." And then I'm gonna like get straight into a conversation or a nodding conversation with Waves. Did you hear about that ship? Oh, what was it called? It was called the Sea Otter. Did you hear about what happened? Did sound very similar like this from the one survivor that managed to get to land.
Are
There was
you
a
out of the room by
screaming.
this point, by the way, Waves? Because
I'm
technically,
standing out of the room the whole time. Look at me. There I am.
no, you are. Sorry, I didn't mean Waves. I beg your pardon. I meant Brian. Brian, because it looks like you're still in the room. So
Sorry, I had to go AFK. My son knocked on the door. I'm following everyone. I'm listening close behind,
Okay.
and I'm staying with Silvo.
Oh.
So wherever he's gone,
Um,
I'm following.
I point towards the grate where the noise is coming from, and try to make a really spooky voice, and say,
No rest, no peace for this wretched soul.
while pointing at the grate that makes the noise. And I try to make it sound really, really spooky.
Sorry. Okay. And so there we go. I just had to make sure I got the cards and everyone positioned properly. Why is this? Okay, hang on a second. This thing is not cooperating, and I need to make sure that I've got that like that. And then I can move you back there, and now everyone can see you. Okay, I was getting confused as to who I'm actually looking at. All right. And so when you say that, the chief kind of looks down where, again, still the sound is, coming from the grate, and looks over at you, Waves, and then kind of glares back down at the grate and whispers something to the guard, and the guard says, "He says that this began when they met you and him. He leave, curse leaves."
I look at him and say,
You're all buffle-headed.
The lizard chief seems unmoved.
I think you know how ghosts work. They stay in one place.
And so the guard kind of looks over and then translates for the chief. And the chief translates back through the guard. "Yes, we have been on this ship for weeks. No sign until you arrived. You must be removed, and then we shall see."
This all started when you attacked the owners of the ship.
We were not going to stay as slaves. We have a greater purpose. And you were one of them, at least at the beginning. We are now free, and you are cursed.
We were locked in the bilges, and there was no ghost. You took over the ship, and then there was a ghost. You're cursed.
And so there's a moment where the two of you like stare at each other, like, "You're cursed, you're cursed."
No, you!
They say, "You're the curse." And
I pull out my bolt lights as I'm saying that.
okay.
See? Not cursed. Light.
And the chief sort of tilts his head and, "Yes," and then through the guard, "Lights, not curse. Curse brought by him." And then he hisses something, and the guard says, "Bring him out." And now the guard, at this point, there are at least 5 of these that are on the deck, and there is a 6th one who comes up here from below. So you've got 6 of these guards, all of whom are sort of like a lot of tension in the air, right? Like 7 guards actually, a lot of tension in the air, as they're all staring and kind of waiting, Brian, because you're the only one with Silvo in the room, basically asking Silvo, like, tell him to get him out.
I would have heard that, wouldn't I? Because
Sure.
the translator's like here,
Sure.
I believe. Yeah.
Sure.
I will just walk out of the room.
They all
would
do
like-
like this as you're going by, like they all back up a few feet,
I would like to mimic that I want to fight the curse that is down there screaming in the vault.
Okay.
Like,
you have a thought about how?
like, yeah, I don't have enough noises ready. I want to pantomime me having a weapon, going down there, fighting the curse.
And
I could try to do this on camera now, but I'm not sure that
I want to see it in full and choreographed detail. No, it's fine. So the lizard chief sort of looks at you and kind of looks at you and then looks at some of the guards who look at each other, and then says to the guard, sort of says through the guard, "What do you mean?" Yeah, and does it again. But it's not. You don't get the impression that they're not getting it. They're sort of like, "What? Like, why? What do you?" That kind of reaction. Like, why would you do that? And he says, and he points down, "Fight below." And they sort of pause and then look at each other, and the chief sort of thinks about it and says, I'm going to have you make a persuasion check here, but I'm trying to think of what to give you as a modifier. On the one hand, the charades is very entertaining. On the other hand, I don't know if it's going to be as convincing to them.
Well, there's no drawback for them if I can't take the curse away. They're still at the same point as now, and if I do it, they are better off than they were before.
Yeah. I'll have you do
And
that.
I might get my weapon back.
Yeah, that's true.
We should find who's cursed. I hold up the bolt again.
Let me have you make a persuasion check. Just do it at a flat number. So no modifier here, Waves.
Okay. 17.
Okay. Oh, I saw Morthwill's in here, and I was like, what? I was like, 17. Because Morthwill was the... Okay, so 17. He thinks about it, and then sort of hisses something back and forth to the guards, and then speaks to the guard, and the guard says, "Chief will give you a choice. You can put him," and nods kind of to Silvo, "on the boat, and he goes away on the boat. You can all go on the boat. Or," and the guard looks at you. "You go down," says to you, Waves, "and fight Curse. If you do not return, then he dies." And you see one of the lizard men comes over and holds a blade up to Oceanus's neck.
Oceanus, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did I do?
So, wait, what? We can. Silver can go on the boat. We can all go on the boat, but if I go down and fight the curse unsuccessfully, they kill Oceanus.
And the guard nods
Did
and
I
says,
get that right?
The guard nods and says, "Chief wants to make sure you will not have any tricks." Because I would remind you all that from their point of view, Oceanus has always been part of your group, right? Because they were trapped just the way Oceanus was trapped by the smugglers. So they don't know what, Oceanus is to the rest of you necessarily. Maybe you should all be like, "All right, sounds good," and just like.
I'm just trying to figure out what my reward is. What my reward is for getting rid of the curse, and I'm unsure right now.
I don't think they're giving you a reward. I think they want you all to leave. Their reward is that you get to stay on the boat.
Please,
Okay,
you
wonderful.
should make sure you're not cursed yourself. Here, take a hold of this. And I hold out the glowing bolt.
And the guard says through the chief says through the guard, "What is that?"
It can detect curses. The light goes out, then the person is cursed.
So there's a like a the chief narrows his eyes. Make a deception check for me, Morthwell.
Ain't gonna go well.
So
Utterly convincing.
yeah, he's
The
the
important thing
chief.
is you believe it.
The chief says, yeah, exactly. The chief says,
I mean, the bolt does light up.
and see sickness, the guard says, and shakes his head, and said, and sort of looks at you and basically is like, take that back. Like, don't, they do not appear to be convinced.
Someone doesn't want. Yeah.
I want to spin a yarn to the translator about the sea otter and about a curse that has been shared across the seven seas that every pirate is aware of. And although there are occasionally mutinies on a ship and a ship is taken over, everyone who is a mutineer lives in fear of this curse that I'm gonna name something really, really clever and D&D like. I can't think. Nemo. It's called Nemo. But I'm gonna very, very ramp this up. The fact that they mutineered, they took over the ship, they have kept the captain alive and bound, has angered deities to curse this ship. And although it needs someone with seasoned sea legs to take care of it, someone who is a seasoned sailor or a seasoned pirate, don't think that they can get away with mutineering this ship and not reaping the consequences. We can't guarantee that they won't stay cursed if they stay on this ship.
And so that all gets related, and you can tell, by the way, as this is going on, all of you can tell that the chief is getting increasingly agitated, like is getting, the term annoyed is maybe too strong, but is kind of increasingly getting almost impatient a little bit. And hears that from you, Brian, and then kind of, so I'm going to have you make a, this is deception, I think. They have you make a deception check for me, Brian.
I can do that. Deception. 18.
So the chief kind of, narrows his eyes again and then kind of hisses and says, and the guard says, "Chief not know whether to believe you. So," and kind of pauses and waits, and then the chief thinks some more and hisses some other things. And meanwhile, while this is going on, we still have the boop coming from below all of while this is happening. And the chief says, too much at stake. And sort of looks at you and says, looks at you, waves, and says, "You will fight curse."
I look at the chief and say, I will help my friend fight the curse. We will fight the curse together. However, I need some kind of guarantee that my friends are safe whilst we fight a curse on your behalf.
And the chief says, "The curse may be brought by him, and kind of points to Silvo. If you stop the sound. Sorry, stop the sound. And he kind of pauses and says, then he, pointing to Silvo, will be kept under guard till we arrive at home. Otherwise, you must leave. All of you on that boat. So basically, it sounds like if the curse can be stopped, as they understand it, from down below, then they'll let them keep you, although Silvo is going to be under Lizardman guard until you arrive at their place, or all of you leave on the longboat.
Silver just looks over to Brian and just sort of, there's a short nod. Like, this is okay.
I'm gonna look to see what Oceanus and Morthwill and Silvo's reaction is, and say to the captain, I will need my swords.
And the chief sort of nods, and the guard says, you will have your weapons.
I just to make sure that they completely understand, my friends will need their weapons too. When this curse is under threat, anyone on this ship could be in danger. You need to be able to defend yourselves.
And so the chief looks a little like uncomfortable about that and kind of processes it, and then make a persuasion check. This isn't deception, I think. Make a persuasion check on this.
I want to be really persuading.
Remember, Chad, inspiration is a thing. If you have inspirations on my channel, you can use one to support them.
I could
And
really
or if
do
you support the Grey Shade Kickstarter, I would consider giving an inspiration for that too. Two birds with one stone.
Let me get my credit card.
No. Even I feel bad enough about pumping this during a GOG stream. I can't take bribes.
What if you've already backed, though?
Well, have you added the $10 audiobook, which is now available for everyone, because we announced today that Trend's audiobook will happen at that amount? No, I still don't. That is true. That is a fact, actually, but I don't actually want you to do that to bribe me. But yeah. Anyway, so...
If anyone has an inspiration...
Now would be a good time to use it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for
There's just a moment where you're trying to convince the captain to give us all of our weapons back, and Silver's just like, that's not gonna happen.
Well, I mean, it's going to be like a scene in Ghostbusters when we confront it. All hell is going to break loose.
I totally need them to fight the curse and not to run down there, sink the ship, run up, and go like, nope, didn't solve it, I have to sail off. Bye.
It looks like that's a no, Brian, I'm sorry to say.
Shame.
So he shakes his head and says, you are powerful sea captain. You and that one, and then looks over at Waves, are strong enough to defeat this curse. They seem pretty set on the matter.
Well,
yeah.
then we're gonna leave them with their damn curse. No, still.
Can we?
It's up to
can
you.
we-
You still have your choice.
I still have a knife in my throat. It's been fun, but
It's true, and they're waiting on that. They haven't lowered it yet.
I'll pull Morthwill on his shirt, like, okay, come on down with me, like, hey, come on, Morthwill, come down.
Well, we need to follow them to wherever our weapons are being kept.
Right, and you do not get the impression that they are inclined to let Morthwill go down there either. From the impression that you're getting, it's Waves and Brine are going to go down to fight this curse. And Morthwill and Silvo and Oceanus are going to be kept on the deck. Now, that's the current circumstance. Now, I don't want the deception and persuasion checks to go on forever, but my impression is that that's That's sort of what they are okay with. They do now lower the blade at your throat a little bit, Oceanus. So that's the sort of situation, is that the two of you would go down. And
Without weapons.
No, they're going to bring you to your weapons. They'll allow you to have your weapons, but they're not going to give everyone their weapons back.
Just as things are happening, I'm just going to sort of shift my weight a little bit, just slightly towards this lizard man, just to see how sort of scared they are of me at the moment.
They definitely are like, Now now it's important to note, you can smell a real stench coming from them. There's always a stench, but more of one. But these are not like little kittens, right? Like where they're like this. But they are definitely like, avoid the cursed one. You get that impression. These two, though, that you're close to, or at least one of them, did not actually see this happen. The one who did see this happen is like on the other side of the guards now, like is definitely not interested in being anywhere near you. But the other ones who just heard about you are definitely wary, but are not like, running away or anything.
Okay, cool. I have no move with that. I just wanted to.
Okay. So it's up to what the rest of you want to do, but otherwise they're going to bring Brine and Waves down to where their weapons are.
I will continue to try to pull Northwill with me.
Okay, so they sort of stop, and the guard from the chief through the guard says, "You have two of you. Enough for curse."
They don't know nothing about ships.
Then you go down, and not her, and points at Brine. Two.
I give Brian a thumbs up.
So he's saying that Morthwill's going to go instead of me.
That they will allow two down, not more. So.
And I got a thumbs up from Waves. Is that's okay?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. In which case, what I'm going to do is just like casually, like try and get myself. This is the position that they're in at the moment. So Oceanus is next to the side of the ship.
Right.
I know he's got a sword against his throat.
The sword has come down a little bit now, but yes. Okay.
I want to get within kind of. How can I put this? Pushing distance.
Okay.
So.
You're gonna have to move Silvo for that.
Say again.
You're gonna have to move Silvo for that, because Silvo right now.
I want to get within pushing distance of both of them. If necessary, if things turn very sour, I want to be able to like get them away, even if it's in the water.
Just push them over the. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you can try to do that. Okay. As for the rest of you, so Morthwill, are you going to allow yourself to be, pulled along by Waves? So then it would be Waves and Morthwill, and then it would be Silvo, Brine, and Oceanus. The sword now drops further, Oceanus, so you're just there. The lizard guard sort of regards you, and then sort of slightly steps back a bit.
I'm just going to give like a nod of thanks as he does so.
Okay. All right. Well, then Morthwill, they bring you down to... make sure I remember where I had them keeping your weapons. Let's see. I think I had it over there.
I'd sure like to know, because I've searched most of the ship.
Yeah, but not all of it. Okay, so...
Always in the last place you look.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay. So what they do is they bring you into... let's see. Yeah. So they bring you back here, and you go under fairly heavy guard. There's like 4 lizard men going with Waves and with Morthwill. And they bring you in here first. So, lizard man, and lizard man. So they bring you in there first. So if you want to like just stop right outside that door, Morthwill and Waves, that would be good. Right here-ish.
Sorry,
Where did I
window
go?
decided to stick to my cursor. There we go.
Am I?
You're underneath
Did I disappear?
Silvo.
I'm under. Oh,
Yeah, Silvo
There we
just
go.
threw you to the ground. No, just kidding. Okay. And then
Weapons.
they bring you into this last portion. So you go to the room where you may remember there was like the bunk beds, or the hammocks with the lizardmen in there. Apparently they weren't the only ones, because as you go into this, you see 3 more. And you certainly hope the last 3, given, the strength of these creatures. And you
maybe
see...
they multiply.
Yeah. You see here that there are 2 coiled lengths of rope and 3 rolls of sailcloth which lie on the desk alongside a large box. And a large wooden cask stands next to 6 lengths of wood blanking. Set into a wooden rack fastened to the bulkhead by the door are what look like 2 metal-headed hammers and 2 wooden mallets and 2 saws and an adze, which I think is something to punch through leather, if I remember correctly. There is an opening about 3 feet square. No, that's an awl. I'm wrong. But it is something I think to punch through wood. There is an opening about 3 feet square and with its low ledge about 7 feet above the deck in the other bulkhead. And the other lizard men here sort of silently shift out of the way as the guards bring you to this box. And then one of the lizard folk open the box, and you can see that sitting on a bed of a bunch of what looks like copper nails is basically all of your weapons are on top of this box. And your guess is that this is where the lizard folk put these, not necessarily where they were to begin with, because this doesn't seem like the most obvious place to put something. But on the other hand, it certainly took you almost 3 sessions to be able to track down where your damn weapons were. So that's where they are. And you can see that they are all in their proper place there. And so they go down and they basically stand there waiting as you're looking in there for weapons. But there are like a bunch of them. There's not much room, and they're like, it's kind of uncomfortable because they're kind of looming over your shoulder the whole time. Brian and Waves.
It's Morthwell.
I beg your pardon. It was Brian. My bad. Yes, Morthwell. Sorry. So yeah, sort of like looming over you. Are both of you getting your weapons at the same time, or is one like just handing them out, or what?
I take. I mean, they don't know what my weapons are, I take
You
my
in your
weapons.
3-sword style.
Yes, my 3-sword style. I take my weapons and I take Brian's weapons, and I step away, looking really, really peaceful, like a little dove.
Okay.
As Wave steps away, Morthal's going to pick up his shield, which still has his glowing emblem on it, and he's just going to tap it, and it's just going to shine a bit. Hopefully, just a bit distractive. So,
Yeah,
and then
the lizard folk kind of take a step back and hiss a little bit.
told you you needed me to deal with this. And then I pull out my golden bolt, hold it ahead of me, and make my way out.
Okay.
So my glowing bolt.
Wonderful. Now we go down to the village and fight the curse.
Okay.
I hope we're ready for this.
And you can't really hear it too well here, but when you come back out and they bring you down the stairs, you hear this, "Bah," type of thing. Okay. So they bring you down now. I'm going to take the 4 of them. Actually, I'll take all of you because it just is easier. Like that, basically, to this part of the deck. There you go, chat. And then they open the hatch. And you are confronted with the familiar and not particularly welcome sight of the bilge below, with the swarms and the mud and the stench and the whole bit. And the guards wait. Weapons drawn, waiting.
Yep. We go inside and close
Yep.
and show them to close the door behind us.
Okay. All right, you do that. I'm going to
Okay.
ask you what you're going to do, and then I'm going to talk to... There you go. Now you folks can have control of your own stuff.
Okay. I'm gonna motion towards Morthwell to make sure the damn ship sinks. And then I'm gonna fire up all the horrible noises that I've ever collected through my life, including fighting noises, screams, animals. Everything is noises of things that break, people screaming, whatever, like all the horrible noises I can ever think of, all of them, to cover up what Northwell is doing.
Okay. So they do that. Now you hear drifting up from below Silvo and Oceanus and Brian. Just the
I
worst.
also try to find I also try to find a little stone, of course, because we will have to turn off the noise.
That's true. Yeah, I'm gonna actually have you make an investigation check. While you're doing that, and again, it is screaming from down here. While you're doing that, this terrific sound is just drifting up of the most like like bashing into sound, whatever, and the lizard chief and one of the guards and a couple of the others are sort of like staring and then looking at each other and glancing back, and they're sort of peering down as if they can try to get a sense of what they're seeing. Okay.
Is the longboat over this side of the boat?
Yes, that is exactly where it is.
Okay, and it's not that far away, obviously, from where we are. Can we kind of, whilst they're distracted, can I kind of indicate that we just like edge ourselves very, very, very slowly when they're looking away, just up the side of the ship? I'm going to say this in primordial, so that the lizards, even if they're there to translate, can't understand.
I'll repeat it in Elvish right after.
Thank you.
Okay. You can do that certainly if you wish. Yeah, I'm going to put the... Whoops, too small.
Tiny boat.
Yeah, I was going to say. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. All right. So, can I put you there? Perfect. Okay, there it is. Yeah, so that's the boat. Yes, so you're able to do that and move sort of slowly, carefully over. You do have to be kind of inching over because they're one of the guards is still like here-ish, but they're not just, they don't have their backs turned to you, and they're standing, but you can definitely see that they're kind of peering down as this horrific din is coming from, several levels below, as you make your way over closer to here, I believe you said.
I'm going to use the fact that there's a din, and I'm going to move because I'm behind Silvo and Oceana, so I'm going to kind of move them in front of me while I peer between. Oh no, that sounds like the same sound described on the ghostly sea otter. Oh my goodness, I fear for my friends' lives. Oh, the humanity.
Right.
As I'm kind of pushing them up the side of the ship, vaguely in the direction of the longboat.
I'm going to ask Oceanus and Silvo, and you actually, Brian, to make stealth checks for me. Believe it or not.
13 for me.
Okay. And is that a 9 that we're looking at? Okay. I think you're muted.
9 for me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so you make your way over, I would say, to about, you probably get like here, but when Oceanus gets here, you may be seen. Actually, let's see if they're not paying close enough attention.
I'm gonna be behind them, so they
sorry,
were in
that's
front
right,
of me,
that's right.
so I'm
That's right, yeah.
pushing them ahead of me, and I'm kind of like pushing them out of the way towards the boat as I'm trying to peer. Oh my goodness! Oh, these sounds, those screams. It reminds me of like the worst fights of my life, and like just completely
Right.
over egg.
And they actually don't roll quite as well. So they do not notice as you make your way over to the side of the boat here. Do you have plans once you get here, Brian and company, for the three of you?
Personally, I'm not going to leave without Morthwill and Waves. and none of us have got any means of cutting the rope, as I am aware. I don't think anyone's picked up a knife that I'm aware of. So I just want to be able to get them, if nothing else, in the boat.
Okay.
And there will be some kind of winch mechanism or something, I'm assuming, to get the boat down.
Sort of. They have it more kind of a little bit jury-rigged to be able to get it over. So it's kind of like basically kind of leaning up against the side, held by ropes, but kind of listing a little bit. So, again, lizard folk, not particularly adept sailors. It seems like they kind of don't really know how to... I mean, it's secure. It's not going to fall yet. But it's not like hanging the way you would expect a professional ship operation to do it.
Okay, but my thought process is, just in case things get wild, is I want to get them into the boat and get it as close to the sea as possible.
Gotcha. Okay.
Preferably not attached to some ropes.
Yes, that would be the hope. Okay, that's going to bring us back down to the bilge hold, where the attack on the curse continues. So... Yeah, what? Where are you at, Morthwill? Because I believe it's you that are the ones dealing with stuff now.
So I've kind of tried to shuffle towards the back, away from where there's an easy view of what I'm doing.
Okay.
And thankfully, they've completely ignored the fact I've had carpenter's tools this whole time. So out comes the little hand drill, you know, the one with like the little that you go.
Yep.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding. Not the electric one. Okay, with the hand
this
drill.
will try and set the place on fire. I have options.
I was going to say, are you trying to drill through the side of the boat, or are you trying to, like, lay a charge, basically? An explosive charge.
No, I wouldn't be able to do any kind of explosives yet.
Okay. So you're just kind of drilling through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I run back and forth, making most horrible noises, and hope that I step on it or find the damn stone at one point.
Every time you tap the stone, it goes off again. So
that's true. So it's like quiet, and all of a sudden, bop, bop. You're like, it's really a remix of the story. Is what we're saying now.
I can interweave all the other sounds with the occasional. It's a damn stone.
This is for chat because you were asking about this previously for the previous game that I was playing. You could also hear something like this. You'll hear it in just a minute on stream. Anyway, so that is a little bit of I just played the Witcher quest completion music in case people were wondering. Anyway. So, okay, so you're running back and forth. Now, Morthwill, this is a fairly thick-hulled ship that was designed to, hold up to pressure. So I guess I need to know how fast you think you can do this. And, like, I understand you have carpenter's tools and all that, but there is the weight of the water against the hull and blah, blah, blah.
I'd say I've got proficiency in carpenter's tools. I'd also know where to find... I'd like to think I'd know where to find a weaker spot in the wood, where maybe there's
it's not in great repair, but
or,
okay.
Yeah, to try and locate somewhere along those lines where maybe the wood's not quite as joined as well as it could, or the sealant started to come away.
There's also the secret compartment, and I'm pretty sure they would have to make some kind of changes to a ship that might not be the best.
Yes.
Yeah, secret compartment's on the upper floor, though. I mean, if you're going to do it from here, you'd have to go up a level to get to that secret compartment.
Yeah, it's also not the best for the waterline.
There was
probably here, because this is where the rudder is. So usually, by its very nature, the wood would be at least slightly thinner there to accommodate the rudder.
I'm going to have you make here, I think, a strength check, but I will take... I'm trying to think if your carpenter's tools has something associated with it. I'll let you add your proficiency bonus to this. Let's say it that way, because you're used to using these carpenter's tools. But I mean, most of your time as a shipbuilder, Morthwill, has been in keeping them from having this happen. But yes, that's fair enough. So I'll have you do that.
Okay, so strength. I'll also do this with guidance.
Sounds good. And while Morthwill's attempted to sync this ship chat, by the way, it's a good time to reset and mention that you are watching episode 333 of Pen and Pixels. This is D&D Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I am joined today by the usual crew of Pyron J, Darksaber 2K, Peripheral Mike, and Ananda, but also added in with occasional D&D with us player, Fleos, who has joined us today. And hopefully we'll get to do more in just a moment than just have sitting there with a knife held at his throat. But let's hope that happens soon. Okay. So we're looking at, is that a 21 that we're looking at?
That's a 21, yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is I am going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to start real time now, mentally counting off. I'm going to set a timer, and I'm basically going to start mentally counting off what happens, because as you continue to do this and drill, you start to hear some drips, and then you start to hear some water seeping in. So I'm going to, in my mind, have a timer. The first time is going to be when the water comes through. The second time is when the water is going to be starting to pour through. So, so I'm going to let the party know that as a whole, that there is a time frame that they're working under. Okay. So with that said, the water is beginning to come through Morthwill. So now I'm going to jump back up to the top where the other three of you are standing by the boat. Now, just about like almost directly opposite it. Like you could be over here if you wish to be. And what would the three of you up there like to do? Go ahead, Ocean.
As I went past the lizard boss, did I recognize the trident he had in his hand by chance?
Yes, you do. That trident looks familiar to you, actually, Oceanus, as you might have suspected. It does look like a trident that you may have used on occasion.
Good to know.
Yep.
Good to know.
So, as you are all standing next to the boat, while this screaming is, continuing to emanate from down below, and you can tell that the chief is starting to get a little, like, kind of looking around and hissing as if, like, what's, hurry it up, like, how long does it take to beat a curse type of thing, and hissing to each other. So, yeah.
I wish this was the first time this had happened, but I really can't say that it is.
Yes. Silva, what are you doing as this is going on? I know you've been brought over to the boat, but what are you doing at the same time?
Honestly, just sticking by Oceanus and Brian. I'm not doing a lot else other than just looking. There's a 1,000 mile stare in the back of Silvo's eyes.
Okay. Morthwill and Waves, water is now flowing through.
And I would like to try and find the stone.
Okay. Make an investigation check for me, please. Better do it quickly.
Yeah, quickly with guidance. That's weird. 25.
Yeah, you find it. Actually, right where, because Waves was running back and forth, and a couple times, like, you managed to just sort of, like, use the little sonar ping of every time Waves restarts it. So just, like, so whenever he hits it. So you find it that way, and you reach down, and it's now starting to, it was a little bubbly, like, and you pull it out again.
Okay, so when I touch it, I remove the enchantment from the stone, so it just stops.
Okay, and the sound dies up top as well. Go ahead, Waves.
So I'll try to. It looks like Mothwall is finished, so I'll just try to make a grand finale so that everybody upstairs can hear something is happening, and I'm gonna go like.
I just cut the end of that. Oh, wait, start. Go do it again. Sorry.
Did not go through?
Some of it got cut off a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, I heard a fanfare.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then silence, and then up we go as quickly as we can before anybody else figures out the ship is sinking.
Yeah, the water is beginning to flow pretty rapidly now.
Come on, upstairs.
Yep.
And as you come out of the hold, the guards sort of look down and sort of hiss. And what do you do when you get up to here with them?
I give them a thumbs up and try to get further upstairs.
Okay, like going this way?
Like where?
Oh, sorry,
wherever
that's
the station-
not the way. Oh, actually, no, that is the right way. That would be coming out on the other side. I think because that's over there. Yes, that would be going. Yeah, that would go up.
Okay.
All right.
I go further upstairs.
Morthwell, you're doing the
until I'm
same?
on the attack.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
I think
All
I
right.
better make sure our friends don't get their throats cut.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you get
let's
up
leave
here
with the
to
boat.
the
Let's
deck
leave.
here. To the deck here, and all of you see emerging from the stairs the rather self-satisfied expression of Waves, and also equally self-satisfied expression of Morthwell as they make their way up. You also now are beginning to hear a hissing from downstairs. It seems to be a rather agitated hissing, and you can hear the guard kind of like leaning over because of hearing this same hissing.
Okay. I'll make a move towards the longboat because we gotta leave.
If I think I have an opportunity, like maybe I see us about to escape and the chief is distracted by something like, hey, the ship is sinking or something like that, I want to try and grab the trident out of his hand and just hop off the deck.
Okay. And
Just
so,
hop off the deck.
yeah, well, so that's what I wanted to ask, actually. Because as far as the sort of boat, it could carry the 5 of you. But otherwise, if the 4 of you are there, are your plans to, like, sort of jump into the boat? Brian, like, are you going to try to, leap into the boat, the rest of you? Because, I just want to make sure I know what your plan is that you're imagining it as for when this occurs. We'll figure out Oceanus there. I think you're muted.
In an
There we go.
ideal scenario, what
Yeah,
do I think is likely?
Ideal scenario: get at the boat, give Brian one of her weapons. I take the other one. We chop down the boat. Silver and Morthwell in the boat, and everybody in the water, and off we go. That's the ideal scenario.
Okay.
I would like to change that slightly. I would like to. If I don't have a chance of grabbing a weapon quickly from Waves, I just want to direct Waves, Morthwell, and Silvo in particular to the boat. I'm going to assume, rightly or wrongly, depends on how much I know about water elves, that they're pretty good swimmers. I'm assuming that. So I'm not too concerned with Oceanus not making it to the boat, but them getting to the boat, ropes cut, that's the priority. And then if I get a chance, depending on what I see Oceanus doing, grabbing the trident, I want to, if I get the opportunity, grab the captain or their chief to try and distract them, and I want to like backflip over the side of the boat and swim down.
Okay, that's awesome. Can I get the tokens for Morthwell and Waves up here on the deck, so that I can know where everyone is relative to everybody else?
Coming up here, going through here, trying to get to the boat.
Okay, gotcha. So, all right, let's make sure that I've got that all squared away. Good. Okay. So, yeah, now, so you can hear the boat kind of does this creaking and this hissing sound. Now you hear a bunch of like hiss, and like several lizard guards come basically bursting on, through the doors here, hissing frantically at the chief. And the chief turns towards them, basically, for a moment. Oceanus, if you want to do this now, you're going to have to... I guess I'll say... This would be a strength check. I'll take athletics if Oceanus has that.
I will take that. Yes, that sounds great. Let me just get my roll in here.
It's going to be an opposed check, but he's a little
Please
distracted.
be nice. Not bad. Not bad. 17.
Yeah, that's not terrible. Okay. Let's see how he does. Oh, it's... Did you say 17?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. standoff. So both of you grab it, and he's like, ugh. And so now everything starts to happen at once. The ship is starting to list. The ropes are starting to extend from the side of the ship because it's listing in the direction of the longboat. So basically to, I guess that would be to the port side. Listing a little bit there. So, and the guards are kind of like, and one of the guards is now looking at Oceanus battling with the chief for the trident. So I'm going to give each of you one single action. That's all you're going to get. And then we're going to see. We may not have to go into full combat, but it depends on how this all breaks down. So I'll start from left to right. No, I'll start from right to left. Brian, what do you want to do? I don't think you're right next to Oceanus. Are you on that side of Oceanus, actually?
I'm here. Oh. At the moment. So I'm right next to the captain.
So you are there. Okay. Yeah, so you're right next to, you can see this happening.
Yeah. Okay, here's what I would like to do. You tell me if I have enough time to do it.
Okay.
I want to turn and shout very clearly to the others, get in the boat and cut the ropes. And as I do, I want to grab the chief, like two-handed, and then like backflip off the boat and just swim down as fast as I can.
Okay. You're going to do that while he's got the trident, like the trident battle with Oceanus going on?
If Oceanus, I'm hoping that if Oceanus sees what I'm doing, he'll let go. And if he comes into the water with me, at least he'll be in the water to get onto the longboat.
Okay, because I was going to say,
I'm just going to do it.
Either to do that or to hope that Oceanus wins the battle. It'll be up to what Phleos thinks Oceanus would actually do here. Either because he might do either. I could see either one being a likely possibility. Okay, since I'm glad I did it in this order then, because Oceanus, it's up to you next. Are you gonna let go or be like, no, the trident is mine, King Arthur it, Sword of the Stone out of the lizardman thing? You're muted, I think, Phleos.
Sorry, it's been a while since I've been on Zoom. I'm definitely going to try and Oceanus is going to definitely try and yank that trident one last time, and maybe some Star Trek fight music will start playing. I don't know.
Okay. Go ahead and make your athletics check again then. As this battle continues.
No!
All right, let's see. It's an opposed check. 12. Let's see how he does. Nope, he rolled exactly what he did last time. Well, the good news about this is that he seizes the trident, rips it away from you angrily and hisses, but that gives Brian the opportunity to basically take the captain now and try to pull him back over. So now, Brian, I need you to make an athletics check as well, because you're literally grappling this dude backwards, if you have athletics, if not just strength.
I am very pleased that you chose athletics. That's great for me.
All right.
Let's see what the roll is.
Duplex air over the edge.
Basically is.
17.
Yep, that's better than his. So you just drop him backwards. So there's this splash and the lizard, and then all hell breaks loose. Lizard guards are running everywhere, running at you, all that stuff. So Waves, what are you going to do? Actually, Oceanus, once that gets let go. No, I'm not going to come to Oceanus yet. You already had your action. I'll come back to you. Waves, what do you want to do? You've got that one action that you could do something with.
I want to get in the boat, and if by running past Silvo, I can pull him in the right direction so he realizes what's going on, I'm going to pull on Silvo.
Okay. You can definitely do that and even kind of get into the boat. Silvo, you could be drawn along with her if you wish. If you wish to be drawn into the boat.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
There is a moment where Silvo kind of snaps back to reality as all hell breaks loose, and there's a very brief second where he's like, well, time to leave.
Silvo, you're on the... Now, Waves has used her action to get you and her into the boat. You still have an action left, technically, Silvo, because you were drawn by Waves into the boat. So, what do you want to do with that action? Push yourself off the boat.
Yeah, dive off the boat.
Dive off the boat.
No. I'm trying to think if there's a way I can cut the ropes. But I don't think there is, because I haven't got anything bladed.
Kick the winch.
Kick the winch. Yeah, I'll kick the winch.
Okay. Yeah, let's have you make a dexterity check for me, please.
Oh, good. I'm glad you said
I'll
that.
take it. I can't do acrobatics on this, actually. You'll have to do dexterity.
That's fine. Dexterity's fine. Dexterity check, yeah.
Yes, check, not a saving throw. Oh,
22. That would be a crit.
that is the act of a person who wants off this damn boat.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
am
with you describe it to
110%
me,
done
Silvo.
with
How
this shit.
graceful does this look? I mean, like
this
how
is such a cool thing.
right, like a back rotating. Like what is it? Like it just.
You know what, like all of us getting in the boat and the timing of him kicking the winch and like woo.
And there's a moment, Waves just runs past, grabs Silvo. Silvo just snaps out of this sort of like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. He's like, oh, okay, right, yeah, it's go time. They both sort of tumble into the boat, and he immediately stands up and sort of goes, it is time to leave, and just high kicks this winch.
Nice.
Hands still in his coat pockets. There's no hand movement. He just high kicks this winch, and the boat just starts to lower.
Badass. Now, good news, it starts to lower. Better news, it starts to lower really fast. Not as great news, Morthwill's still on the boat. So as the boat's like Morthwill, your action is last to go, and Morthwill, you're like so you see the boat vanishing. What do you want to do?
Jump over the railing.
I need a dexterity check. I'll take acrobatics if you have it.
Just need dex.
Exactly, Lone
Okay.
Wolf. Reverse triple axle, half spinning twirl. 10 out
I'm
of 10.
imagining you know those
19.
TikToks of people unspinning cats with a roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
Imagine
So like, yeah, this is totally fine. So like leaps over. So the two of you, as the boat's going down, suddenly hear and like right in the boat is Morthwill, which you'll be happy to know increases the downward velocity of the boat. So the boat slams into the water, and so you're like, awesome. The boat is down. Good news. Bad news. Boat is still attached by ropes to the boat, to the ship, which is now listing dangerously above you as you are sitting there in the water. So,
Which way?
Towards
us or
you.
away
Oh,
from us?
no, towards you. It was going to port, and so are you. So the boat, the ship is just slightly, leaning over this, while the lizard, and you see several lizard guards come over, and I'm going to talk about what they do in a minute. Okay, Oceanus, so now Oceanus, you have a lizard guard who's basically running right at you. What do you want to do? Like, you have multiple options, but you have a listing ship, and the rest of your crew, your party is bailed out.
I'm gonna try and dive down in the water and catch up to Brian and the boss dude.
Okay, it's going to take an attack of opportunity, by the way, as you do that. But
I'm gonna try and make a glorious too, if that's worth anything.
it is a clean miss. This is what happens, I suppose, when you're trying to hit someone on the back of a ship. They don't even come close. So I assume you do it like, as Lone Wolf said, like the triple axle, half spinning, twirl, badass jump type of thing.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
Yep.
I will have you make, please, for me, an acrobatics check. You can do this at advantage, though. Diving into the water is something a sea elf does all the time.
Okay, so that's first roll. Oh, okay.
That's why advantage. Yeah, that's
yes,
more
I
like
like
it.
that better.
That's what actually happened.
5 to 19.
Just perfect, like hits the water, Greg Louganis style, 80s Olympian reference, no one will get, into the water, and then just, so you're there. Now, and the boat is there too, and you can see that your companions, Morthwill is kind of groggily pulling himself up from the bottom of the boat, apparently. But you can see Silvo and Waves are in the boat. You don't see Brine. You see the ship above you is listing badly, and you also see there are ropes still connecting the big boat to the small boat.
I'm really concerned about that trident, so I'm gonna try and just dive down where I assume that Brian went while holding the dude.
Okay.
Suplexing the dude.
Okay, sounds good. All right. What are we going to do with the people with the folks that are in the boat, Morthwill and Waves and Silvo? What are you going to do as the boat is still attached by ropes to the bigger boat?
Can I unhook the ropes or do I have to cut them?
You could, but they were hooked up on the deck. So if you'd like to climb back up, you could do that. You mean underneath it?
No. Like the ropes are somehow attached to the smaller boat. Is it hooked in or is it? Did I tie it
It's
with
tied.
a rope? How is it?
It's tied, yeah.
Okay, then I take out Brian's sword, I hand one to Morthwell, and I start hacking away on the ropes.
Okay.
And I hope that's and yeah, maybe that works.
I was gonna say because your typical rapier is not poking the rope isn't gonna do much.
Yeah, but I've
Besides,
got
to
Brian's
remind you-
weapons with me.
No, you do.
Yeah,
You definitely do.
And it is one of them's enhanced for +1 to attack, if that helps.
It might very well. Let me have you. Let me have all three of you then make. Sorry, all three of you have weapons now. Then
I was going to
nope.
actually shoot a firebolt at the railing where the rope crosses it.
Okay. Let me have you do that first then.
Okay. Oh, no, I haven't done this in a while. Nope. 9.
You almost take out the. You also hit the lizard guard in the head. Who's there's other bad news now, which is that the lizard men are also throwing spears down at you, javelins down at you. Also, I should definitely have some kind of combat music up here by now, even though we're not technically in inventory
Improv
yet.
combat.
Let's see. No, we want our music combat. Nope, not that either. This one maybe. Yeah, there we go. That should be familiar to everyone who listens to this campaign on a regular basis. Okay. So they're going to attack. Let's see. They're going to do randomly. They've got 3 targets. And there's 2 of them. So they will randomly attack. 3 is going to be waves. So one's Morthwell. 1 is Silvo. 2 is Morthwell. 3 is waves. 3 and 3. Both of them are going to be at waves. So, because I said you were 3, right? Did I say you were 3?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying 3 doesn't hit, but this is fine.
Yeah. No, I meant 3 as in choosing who you are.
Okay, I am.
That's what I meant. Now they're going to see if they actually hit you. That is a 16 and a 21.
16 does not hit. Without my shield, which I'm currently not using, I have a AC of 17.
Okay. So that second one is going to hit. Let's see. Wow, that guy was really angry at you, apparently. That's 6 points of damage. And it's also a very disturbing thing because as you're looking, all of you can see the lizard's face is starting to be like almost directly over the boat because the ship is just like tilting, more and more as you're going through this. Yes, go ahead, Silva.
What happened to the so these lizardmen are throwing javelins, correct?
Correct, that's right.
Did the javelin miss impact on the boat or land?
The water.
Oh, damn it.
Sadly, the water. Yeah, it missed pretty badly.
Okay.
No, we don't need a hole in this boat.
No. Well, I'm thinking if it's stuck in the side of it.
Oh, that's a
maybe,
good thought. Yes, it hits the boat and makes a hole. No, it misses the water in both.
What about the one that's stuck in waves? Can I just take that one out?
Yeah, it's there. You can just take it out of waves, I guess. You're gonna just take it out and throw it back up at them? Is that the idea?
No, I'm gonna use it to cut the rope.
A javelin?
Well, it's pointy.
You can use it to push us away from the boat.
Yeah,
you can do that.
Sharp. Yeah,
that's true. Okay, so I have this image of you just ripping it out of 4 waves, like, oh!
Just like, I'll say that.
Oh, man. At least it's not a barbed javelin. Those things are nasty. Yeah, basically. Okay, so those were those. Let's see. So we have, okay, now we said attack on, I was going to give attack rolls for waves and Morthwell. Silvo, I will give you a chance to push the thing away from the ship if they can cut these ropes loose.
Yes.
So go ahead, Morthwell and waves for your attacks. I don't think you did. Oh, no, you did the firebolt,
I did a
Morthwell.
spell, yeah.
So then it's just going to be waves trying to cut your rope.
Okay, I don't have the attack thing for whatever weapon Brian uses.
I'm
I'm just gonna do.
It'll be strength
sim-
for you, and it'll be
Strength,
whatever
yeah.
the weapon bonus would normally be, Brian.
That face, Baron.
I've got it does 1d6 plus 4 slashing.
Yeah, it has to hit first,
Okay.
though. I was wondering what the 2 hit was.
I'm not sure.
It's a scimitar, right? I can look it up, too.
I have +1 because it's strength based, and +2 because I've got proficiency. So it's d20 plus 3.
A plus
If
one
I-
because it's enchanted if it's Brian's as well.
Yes, it's my. It
Right.
depends on
Yeah,
whether
I gave you the
picked up-
enchanted one, Mothball.
Okay, in
Oh.
which case it's not
So
plus
then
that.
D20
Might have been a
plus 3.
mistake.
Okay, so D20
So
plus 3 then.
plus 3, yeah. 20.
Yes, no problem. So
Do I hit the rope? Yes.
Yes, you hit Morthwheel. Damn it! No, you hit the rope, and you cut about halfway through, which is fairly lucky because these ropes are thick, but they also look to be not in the greatest condition, which is starting to become a theme with the Sea Ghost. But you're about halfway through. You probably need to do that again to be able to cut through it, Waves. That's one rope. That's your rope. The other rope, no one has doing anything with it, and Silvo, you can just sort of push at it there. Also,
Wow.
give me a second. I just need to adjust cameras because we had a slight snafu.
Yeah, Zoom just froze up on me. I had to stop and start the video.
No problem.
I am now Morthwell Gagonian.
What a
Fireball.
thing to
Yeah.
be.
I cast Wish.
Okay, there we go. All set. All back to normal. Okay. I'm going to let Silvo tell me what you want to do with pushing away. Then I'm going to go down underneath the water. There's another battle going on. I'm,
Okay,
by the way,
cool.
loving these multi-combats you people get into. On the side of a ship with another big ship sinking, plus the battle below the waves. So,
Silvo just
different
grabs
waves.
hold of the rope with one hand and looks to Morthwheel and Waves and sort of says, "This is a real dumb idea, and I'm sorry," and stabs himself in the foot with the javelin and casts Firebolt on the rope in his closed hand.
Okay. So that's all right. So
Look, thematically, he doesn't know how to cast his spells yet. But he does know that when damage is inflicted on him, they cast as a reaction.
right. That's
So,
right.
He's going to just poke himself with something sharp in the foot, take a point or so of damage,
Yep.
and hope that in his hand that's holding the rope, the fire thing happens that sometimes happens when he's in combat.
Yep. So that is a point of damage. So Lone Wolf, what happened there is he pokes himself in the foot because, as he just said, Silvo doesn't have control over his spells particularly yet, and so this is the way that he triggers them is basically by hurting himself. To
Blood
not
magic,
to put
yeah,
too
pretty
fine a point on it. I mean, sort of. So that's why this is happening. Yeah, it's kind of almost like a blood magic. So, all right, Firebolt. Now, are you aiming exactly where Morthwell was aiming before?
No. I've got the rope in my hand, and I'm hoping that
Like
it
at
ain't-
point blank range. Okay.
It is, yeah, my hand is wrapped around the rope.
All right. Well, I will give you. I'm going to say you're going to attack then at advantage. You still got to make it. Still got to hit it, but you're right there. So no, it's not necessarily. Well, it's random, but not completely random. It's not like a sorcerer's wild magic surge. This is a particular subclass, Lone Wolf, and it doesn't always work this way, but.
And at advantage, I'll take the.
Oh my
I'll take the
goodness.
crit.
My goodness.
I will definitely 100% take the crit.
Wow. Well, I guess that's what happens in stabbing yourself in the foot. So just
Yep.
and just the rope completely bursts. Now you had the other one, right? You were holding.
Yes,
So
not the half cut one.
right.
the solid one.
So the good news is pulls away, right? The bad news is that it like releases so suddenly because remember it was like it's got pressure because the other ship is on that the thing spins away. So I need everyone in the boat to make dexterity saving throws for me, please.
Excellent.
And I'm coming to the below the waves battle in a minute. Fear not, Brian and Oceanus.
13. This could end up so well.
15.
Let's see, 13, 15. And what do we got, Waves?
I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood. What am I supposed to
You're
do?
making a dexterity save because everybody in the boat has to make a save because the boat just like jerked
just gonna, like,
way away.
spring.
Yeah, exactly.
Dexterity save. 15.
Yeah, you're all fine. So you're all like, oh, this is very Pirates of the Caribbean, by the way. So you managed to
Yeah.
so you hold on to your half, basically, of what's left of the rope. And while that's going on, there's a battle below the waves. Brian, you have got this lizard chieftain, and the chieftain is trying to fight back against you as a grapple. Now,
I got him by the back though, so I'm literally holding on to him like by his like straps or any vest or any clothes, and I'm behind him. I'm swimming down.
Right.
I've got a swim speed of 30, so I'm just keeping swimming till he stops struggling.
Right. So he's going to, that's right. He, however, is a little bit tougher than the normal person you would do this to, Brian. For the people who are underneath the water, like the bandits that you did this to, like the smugglers you did this to who are human, they are in a bad spot. He is not as much so. These are used to the water, remember. They are lizard folk, and he's very strong. So he is actually going to try to fight back against you to the extent that he can. So I'm going to have you make here a grapple check. So it's going to be a strength check. You're doing this at +2 because you are certainly more agile and whatever underwater. But he's not completely helpless. So you're going to be doing this check at +2. He's just going to do a normal strength check.
Just a straight strength check.
Yes, but add like whatever your normal strength bonus if you have any, and then an additional +2 because you do have an advantage. You're just not doing it at advantage, but you have a benefit because you are good at this thing.
That gives me a +5 total then. So, but I got a 7, so not great.
Okay. I thought that was going to be, so it's all good. Wow. I'll tell you what, though, it's probably better than a crit miss fail, which is what he just got. I guess that's what happens when you're dragged down. So he actually is going to have to make Constitution saving throw to see if he can hold his breath. No, he can't. Not a good. So you can see he's kind of like, he's kind of like pulling and like sort of jerking back at you, but it's not really doing the job as you're swimming down. Oceanus, you can see all of this happening as a sea elf as you're swimming down, and you can see that the lizard chief is kind of, jerking his fist back and trying to fight, and Brian is just swimming straight down. What are you doing, Oceanus?
I also have a swim speed of 30, so I'm going to just come down as close as I can. Will I catch up with them, or do I have to?
If Brian is going at full speed, I would say you are, Brian, going at full speed.
I am going at full speed, but I just want to for note as well is because I had seen Oceanus grabbing for the trident on the ship. Right. I know it's important to him. So if I see the chief losing his grip of the trident, I'm gonna make sure I grab it so that I can return. Okay.
That sounds good. I would say your speed, you said, was 30, right? I'm sorry. Swimming. No, Brian, I meant also. So I'm going to say that that's actually 25 because you're struggling against him a little bit. So you have a little bit of a benefit, Oceanus, in catching them. But you're probably still a turn away. So I would say next turn on this, you'll probably reach them. And we'll see what happens with this chief and with Brian and the trident by that point, is what I would say. Also, Oceanus, you get this weird, there's this strange, because this is happening during the day, of this weird shadow in the water above you. And as you kind of look, you can see the ship now alarmingly listing over and another smaller silhouette of another boat, which is disturbingly underneath the big shadow of the boat. And speaking of that, Morthwill, Silvo, and Waves. Waves, I'm going to give you a chance to make another cut on that rope here and make another attack.
I'm gonna attack the rope again.
Attack the rope.
Come on. 21.
That's definitely going to do it. So string, and that one cuts free. I need, again, dexterity saves from everybody. From the folks in the boat, I mean.
Don't copy me.
So I feel like everything today for me has been... So the good news is that Waves, no problem. You do this and you're like, ha-ha! Morthwill and Silvo, splash, splash. So both of you go out because of the mist of the dexterity save. So both of them land in the water. Now you're in the boat, Waves, and the boat is kind of spinning away a little bit. But Silvo and Morthwill, who fortunately haven't acted yet, are in the water. What do the two of you want to do?
Grab for the boat.
Yeah, well, Silvo can definitely swim, so he's going to try and swim to the boat.
Okay. I think it's reasonable that you'll be able to make it there and pull yourself up. Morthwill, I think probably you can do it as well. I'll have you make, I'll have the both of you actually make just acrobatics checks for me if you have those, or dexterity if not. No, I'm sorry. Athletics, not acrobatics. I'm so sorry. Oh. Athletics or strength to get up there. Sorry.
Perfectly good 19.
Yeah, sorry. This is not a really hard one, though. Well, I mean, listen, I work with you here. No, Silvo, you're okay. You're able to get to the boat and kind of pull yourself up. And there's a moment where you're looking at Waves and you're like, "Where's Morthwill?" And Morthwill, you're. It's not that you're drowning. You're just like, the boat is spinning and you're like trying to get up.
I
to
have
the
little
boat.
arms.
Yeah.
Wait for me, I got little legs.
Yeah, Morthwill just had a big breakfast. Yeah, exactly. So, Morthwill, you're trying to make your way there. Waves has already taken her action. Brian and Oceanus, let's talk about this. The ship is above you is starting to look very much dangerously like it's going to almost tip completely, maybe. Brian, I'm going to have you make one more of your strength check. This one's going to be done at +4. You clearly have the benefit, not the mechanical, but the advantage in general terms.
Well, I'm doing a +7 now. Fingers crossed. 18.
Yep, he crit misses again. And his con save, yeah, he may not really. So, so you can feel his grip indeed does loosen at the trident just about as Oceanus gets there. So, Brian, you're basically able to, if you wish, rip the trident free, if you want to do that, as Oceanus arrives on the scene.
Can I do exactly that? Literally hold my arm out to Oceanus, point to what's happening towards the surface
You
of the
see a
water,
flailing silhouette of a dwarf in the water above you now, too.
and then leave the chief lizard to probably die because he probably won't be able to swim back up in time. But I'm giving Oceanus his trident, and then I'm swimming straight for Morthwill.
Okay. All right. Oceanus, what are you going to do then?
A quick look at the chief. Does he look like he's drowning
He
at this moment?
looks like he's his motions are pretty weak.
Okay, so I'm actually going to, seeing Brian abandoning him to his fate, I'm going to help him get to the surface. I'm going to make sure that it's like far, like I'm not going to go straight up toward the small boat where my friends are. I'm going to go over more to the side and just get him up toward the surface. I don't know if I can, I guess I can't make it to the surface. So that assuming the other lizard folk fall into the water as the boat sinks or the ship sinks, that the chief will maybe be saved by his people.
Okay. So you kind of reverse course, start pulling him. He's a little heavy, but you are, of course, very experienced swimmer, and he is not going to resist you at all because he's pretty much unconscious. So you are swimming up towards, as you say, off to the side. Meanwhile, Brian, you're heading straight up towards the boat. Okay. Waves, you can now, as you sort of are getting the boat back under control, you can now see above you that the sea ghost is imminent, about to tip over on top of you. And in fact, you barely sort of kind of straighten up as a lizard folk plunges into the water because they're starting to fall off the deck of the ship. So the ship is imminently about to tip on top of you, and Silvo's in the boat, Morthwill's not, is trying to get to the boat.
Yeah, but we can't really sail away when Moth will still cling to the side of the boat. So are there any pedals, rudders, sail? Is there anything to move the boat?
There is indeed an oar which is lashed to the inside of the boat. Only one, but there is an oar.
Okay, I push that oar towards Silvo, and then I try to pull Mothwell up.
Okay. All right, Morthwill, let me have you make another check, but this time you can do it at advantage because Waves is helping.
Okay.
Okay.
13.
The 13 will do it. The 4 would not have, but the 13's good. So, Waves, you pull Morthwill on board the boat, and Silvo, you've got an oar now.
So sometimes when you sort of ask Silvo to do stuff, there's an air of almost arrogance about him. You have never seen Silvo move in the direction and intention you want him to quite so fast. He is paddling as fast and as hard as he can.
All right. Yeah, and he so you do that And of course, now this is not a kayak, which means that, or canoe, which means that paddling a longboat like this with one oar is a pain in the ass, frankly. So, but you're like doing the best you can, and I'm going to need you to make an athletics check to see how much room, how much space you can get, because from this tipping sea ghost above you.
Okay. Athletics. 15.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're able to make some progress, although it still feels painfully slow. You too can see the shadow of the ship in front of you, like on the water, and you're like, trying to get to the leading edge of the shadow and past it, because like as more lizard folk plunge into the water behind you. Brian, you have now reached the surface, and you surface to see with the trident, and you surface to see essentially Silvo apparently attempting with one oar to paddle away a longboat, and you see Waves and Morthwill on there as well.
I've already I gave the trident to Oceanus underwater.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right.
But the first thing I do when I hit the surface is grab the boat from behind. And I don't know if you've seen the movie The Incredibles. Dash the kid with his like super powered feet. I'm gonna like try and motorboat this this long boat as fast and as far away from any lizards falling and the boat tipping as possible.
I'm going to give you athletics check with proficiency because you are in your element, literally.
Athletics. I'm already proficient in athletics.
Oh, okay, well then I can't give you double. So I want to give you some advantage though. Let's give you athletics at advantage then.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Didn't matter, it's still 12.
Okay, so Silvo, the image I think of Silvo has for a moment is just like, wow, I'm actually doing much better than I thought. Like it becomes much easier to paddle, and like you're like, wow. But the
maybe I do have strength after all.
Yeah, like all of a sudden it moves forward, and you're doing that. Oceanus, in the meantime, you have pulled yourself with the lizard chief basically out of the underneath the water. And his body is just sort of lying, kind of floating there. Now, you can see the boat of your companions, the longboat, kind of gradually drifting away. It looks like maybe it's going a little faster now than it was before. But you can also hear shouts, and you can see a couple of lizard folks swimming in your direction, Oceanus.
Okay, I want to make sure that they see the chief.
Oh, they see him. They see both of you.
And so once I've seen that, I'm gonna kick off away. It's like kind of pushing him towards them and me away.
Okay.
And then go full speed after our little boat.
Okay.
And if I catch up, or when I catch up, I'm gonna do the brrrr thing as well.
Okay. Oh, right. So that's true. So when you join Brian, so that actually I like that. So you get to that, and both of you are just. So all of a sudden, the back of the boat, like a motorboat, almost tips up a little bit, right, as you're going through the water, like cutting through this way, and in no.
Silva's just like, I am incredible.
Yeah, this is great. At a certain point, Silva, you probably realize your oar really isn't even touching the water much. And you're like, wait a minute, like there's got to be, because
this isn't how boats work.
The boat is moving quite quickly and without much time to spare, because with a creaking and a cracking and a there's this splash as the boat tilts completely and is now on its side. You hear sort of angry hisses from the lizard folk in the water, and yet the group of you are heading off with the boat, which does lead me to a question, which is, where are you going? I mean, you escaped the boat, but where are you headed?
When we're like out of like danger of the lizards catching up to us,
yeah,
or the boat capsizing on us, can I immediately say to Waves, give me my swords, and then I want to like dive underneath to where the boat has gone under the water and see if I can cut free the captain and the other people that are currently tied to the deck as the boat's sinking.
Ah, okay. Let's see. So here's the thing. They are on the starboard side, the boat tilted to the port. So what that means is you'll need to kind of almost, if you follow what I mean, climb up on the side, on the hull, right? Because the whole boat is tilted over. and they are on top of that starboard side of the hull. So you'd have to get to it and then climb up a little bit, which you can certainly do if you wish, and cut free, because the lizard folk are swimming away from the ship now. They are not, still hanging out near the Sea Ghost.
I want to make an attempt so that
Okay.
I want to make an attempt to at least give them a chance to swim for it.
Is anyone, Oceanus, are you going to accompany, or is anyone going to... is Morthwill going to swim back? I'm just kidding.
No, actually, he's kind of they were slavers. They deserve their fate.
Yeah. Okay.
I do give Brian her weapon, though, because it's her weapon.
Okay. All right, Brian, I'm going to have you make... I will have you make a... Oh, gosh, what kind of check do I do for this? I'll have you make an athletics... No, dexterity, actually, to climb up. I'll have you make a dexterity check here. I think you're going to have one shot at this, because without being super risky to yourself. So...
Okay.
Yeah, this is really reminding me of the Poseidon adventure, Rudnell. This whole thing.
Not dexterous at all. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's mostly just because you try to get up there, but the thing is like listing, and they are up near the top, so it's almost like the ship kind of sinking into almost tipping over now, because the mast is now the sails and everything are now dragging the ship below it. It's not a pleasant sight. Very effective sabotage work by Morthwill. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like you're going to be able to get to them. You could take another chance at this, Brian, but you're going to be risking yourself to do it. But you could try again, but it's going to be risky to you.
I'm gonna realize it's probably futile if after the first attempt, and with resignation swim back to the crew.
Okay. That leads me to the question of where the boat and the rest of you are going to go as you've escaped watching the Sea Ghost gradually disappear below the waves, some flotsam and jetsam kind of bobbing on the water.
We did work out roughly where we were and where roughly land was.
Yes, you did. And in fact, I can bring you over to that map. I think you were over here, I think is the map that I had you looking at. Yeah. So you were about here. And so there is an island here, which is known as Abbey Island, and then there is Saltmarsh itself. You're a little bit to the east of that, though. So basically, if you were to take your now not Sea Ghost boat, but the lifeboat, more or less, you could aim this way if you wanted to head back towards Saltmarsh.
Obviously, talking to the others whilst doing the whole foot paddling thing, I'm going to say I think we need to head back, but not maybe directly to Saltmarsh. We need to figure out what has just happened. I'm willing to do the whole paddle thing back to shore.
I don't know about all of you, but I would definitely like to stand on some dry land.
Dry land in a roaring fire by the something of become something.
I'm going to turn to Oceanus and, whilst holding onto the boat with one hand, try and do the oceanic sign language to ask, where is home? Do you want to come with us?
And he'll respond. First of all, he'll just point down. But after that, he'll say, not yet. I don't think I'm finished here. But soon. I stay with you for now, if you'll have me.
Of course. And I kind of give him the customary nod of the head, but obviously don't want to let go of the boat. Then paddle.
And Waves, you're also happy to go along with them to the show, like you're nodding or something, the equivalent as you go there.
Yeah, I mean, Morthwill is really wet, and we might just have to regroup and see what we can do. So yeah, let's go back to the shore and maybe have a
Cup of tea.
As the crew paddles their boat, paddles / is powered by sea elf and genasi power towards and 1 oar towards the shore. I would say the
100%
camera.
renewable energy.
Yeah, exactly. I would say the camera would draw back slightly, and we can see the longboat kind of heading towards the somewhat distant but visible shoreline, and behind the flotsam and jetsam of the Sea Ghost. And perhaps we would see sort of bobbing up and down on one of the crates that was left over from the ship is the figure of the bedraggled figure of the lizard chief. And perhaps the lizard folk chief kind of looks and blinks and hisses menacingly. And that's where we'll bring our session to a close.
Ooh.
Also, that's where we bring the sinister secret of Saltmarsh to a close. Chapter 2 comes to a close, and the party also levels to level 3.
How exciting!
Ooh.
Oh, the
Cannon
decision.
time!
Yep.
Level ups. I
So-
love the level ups.
Level 3. What a really fun session, everyone. That is not, by the way, to be clear, nowhere
Save
in
it
my notes do
immediately
I
in the
have,
book.
here's what happens when Morthwill and Waves deal with a curse and then sink the boat and then have to get off the boat with plus
Fake
the
a curse.
trident battle and none of this was my plan, and that's great. That's exactly why we play.
You think that none of this is in the source book?
Yeah, I was gonna say this was a lot of rolling with the punches. No, I mean that's why we do it, right? I love this kind of collaborative storytelling. That was so much fun to watch you folks do your stuff. I will start with the gentleman at the bottom of the column, but not the bottom of our hearts. Fleos, it was great to have you back in the fold here. I'm sorry that in the middle of that, Oceanus was not able to be as, active role-playing wise. That will certainly change in our next session. I can promise that for sure, because there'll just be more opportunity for it. That said, though, it's not like there wasn't stuff going on, like with Give Me the Trident, and then I'm going to get it from them, and then bringing the Lizard Chief back up to the surface, which was interesting, because it didn't have to be that way either. You could just let him drown. And then, so that was all very interesting to me, and the initial little bit of role-play about can we even trust this person? Who is this guy? And all that stuff was interesting. So I think you settled very nicely into that role. And you're going to be with us, in case Chad is unaware, for at least 1 and probably 2 more sessions before having to be away. So we will have Fleos with us a couple more times at least. So how did you feel, Fleos, about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Oh, I was definitely nervous coming in, because it's especially when the last episode ended with I've got to tell you the super important thing.
I know.
I was
He was very frantic about that. I'm like, no. This is what he was talking about. Was he just saw Silvo do what Silvo's thing? So that's why. Yeah.
So I was nervous at first, but I feel like I kind of settled in after, and it was really fun playing just more of a supporting character, not even worrying about wanting to be part of the main story, and just kind of sitting there. You're right that Oceanus didn't really do a whole lot for a little while, but it was great because I've spent so many hours listening to the Saltmarsh episodes to try and catch up that it was just kind of hey, I get to listen to this live, and also everyone gets to see my face. This is great. And that bit at the end there, Oceanus was a slave, was enslaved by these same people, and the lizard folk were slaves as well. And while it did seem like they did want to attack Saltmarsh, there's kind of it's understandable, at least to Oceanus.
Yeah.
And so just as a player, I'm wondering, was it a mistake or was it not a mistake, to keep the captain alive?
I'd say the jury's
inadvertently
still
make a
out
giant-
too, right?
Yeah.
And you're right, because Oceanus, of course, is not human or even sort of land anyway, humanoid. I mean, he's a sea elf, so there may be. I mean, it's the lizard folk. Obviously, they've had run-ins with the sea elves, but yeah, it's not. I was interested to see your moral calculus there, because you were like, well, F the slavers, which I think we all understand, but then you were also saving the lizard chief. It'll be interesting to see how his reaction is. Who's the menace for, right? Anyway, so it was interesting to see you do that.
I'm really excited to be able to be here for the next couple of sessions. So thank you guys for allowing me to be your guest. I'm really flattered. And also everyone, buy Gray Shade, back the Kickstarter.
Oh,
do it
yay.
now.
Thank you for being. Thank you. You're my hero. I appreciate that. And yes, now's the time. Jump in on that. Also, I should say, for those of you who have... Oh, wait, those cameras are all messed up because of what happened. I'll just go back to the map one. Also, I should say that Flayos is also responsible for the D&D with GOG audio podcast, which has been doing all of this amazing work in cataloging the adventures of the previous one of these D&D with GOG campaigns, which was our long-running Storm King's Thunder. And that, I think, has gotten all the way to heading towards the Oracle of the Allfather, I think. Up in the Eye of the Allfather, right? Up in the spine of the world up there. So that's been really cool. So I really appreciate Flayos doing that work too. So thank you. And I know chat was happy to have you on board and to have you back in the saddle as a recurring guest role. Let us say as part of this.
It was fun.
But thank you, Flayos, as always, and I'm looking forward to having you back next month. Moving right on up the line, you definitely, Nanda, had a lot of stuff going on with Brian today. First of all, that idea of taking him back over the deck, because he was so strong, I wasn't sure how that was going to work out, but I figured that if it worked out, it was going to be one of the best options, because obviously you're able to function underwater, even though he is not like completely, water averse. Obviously, it's not going to be... You have a clear advantage over him, and you did, and you reflected that. And then you had other things. You were trying to initially take care of Silvo. You were trying to kind of deceive them and figure out how to, like, get somebody down to get their weapons and, all this kind of stuff. So there was a lot, and some roleplay moments even with Oceanus, too. So there was a lot going on with Brian there that worked out reasonably well, it seems to me. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
I didn't die. Yay!
That's right. You were not unconscious at any point.
I had a really, really fun session today. Thank you so much. Awesome having Flayos here as well. And yeah, I didn't have any weapons. I wanted to be able to give the others time to get into the boat at least. And I thought, my thinking was not only was he like the biggest, strongest chief, the biggest distraction that I could think of was their chief being in danger. So I thought, let's try. It's worked well before.
Yeah, put him in danger, right? Yeah.
So yeah, like hoofing over the side of the boat, I felt was an option. But yeah, really, really enjoyed the session today. I thought Waves running around making lots of scary noises was awesome. And so lovely having Flayos here, like part of the group. And Oceanus is a fantastic character, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they develop with Flayos. But yeah, lots and lots of fun. Really enjoyed today's session. And Morthwill has been itching to sink that boat for how many sessions?
Down goes the boat.
Exactly. So yeah, lots and lots of fun. Really enjoyed it.
And where will the fine folks find you next?
It's a busy month for me this month. So this week I'll be over on my own channel. I'm doing a sponsor stream on Friday. I'm not streaming over here on GOG on Saturday because I'm going to a birthday party. But I'll be back next Saturday, and then I'll be over on my channel for the rest of the time, and back here a week Saturday.
Okay, that sounds that's awesome. I'm glad to. Sorry, I just had one person who just messaged me about something else. That's awesome. I'm excited to have you back as well with us next month as usual. And I'm looking forward to it. Good stuff with Brian today. Right on up the column, of course, we have Silvo, played as always inimitably by Mike. Mike, good stuff today with Silvo. First of all, you had a little bit of the kind of the post reaction to everything. And I love the idea, a couple of good highlights for me. Obviously the, stabbing your foot so that you could shoot out the firebolt, was pretty funny, and seemed narratively appropriate. The idea that Silvo also was thinking about how to kind of position himself and probably didn't know at the beginning of this session, what was going to happen clearly by the end of it in terms of where he was going to end up and under what circumstances. So seems appropriate then that Silvo was able to do what he does in that moment. And that he, as you said, listened and was like, listen, we got to get the heck off this boat. So let's do it. I want these mother bleeping people off my mother bleeping boat. So I was interesting to see how Silva was going to react to all of that. And then again, I love the image of Silvo trying to row away from thinking that it's all Silvo doing it when it's actually Brian and then Oceanus who are actually powering the boat from behind, motorboat style. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
As always, I absolutely adored it. I adored it even more than usual because Fleos was here as well. Like, absolute icing on the cake for me for this stream. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think this was a bit more, Silvo mentally sort of took a little bit of a step backwards because he's in shock. Yeah, that episode isn't something that normally happens to him. It's happened a couple of times, which obviously narrative-wise we'll get into it another time, but it means that he's starting to figure out, actually, based also on what Brian said, because Brian has pieced it together probably faster than Silvo has. Things happen to Silvo and magic happens. Now he's like, oh, right. So if I'm hurt, something might happen. So I think instead of just ignoring what is inside of him and the powers that he's got, he's like, okay, how now can I maybe manipulate this in some way? But as I explained to people in chat, he's never been taught to manipulate his magic. He's never learned to control it. He's still quite new with it. So it's all a case of just figuring out as he goes. So there's also a bit of a homebrew that I'm writing for a D&D class that focuses around that as well, because I think too much emphasis is put sometimes on sorcerers knowing how to control all of this innate magic, and sometimes that might not be the case. Sometimes that, taken from some excellent works of fiction I've read, sorcerers don't always want this magic power that they've got inside of them. I think Silver would call it magical food poisoning. He never asked for it, and sometimes it just comes out without asking. So yeah, it's one of those. But I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought after the moment where Silvo snapped back to reality and sort of went, "We are leaving," and just immediately all hell broke loose, and everyone just got off the ship. I think he's happy to be heading back to dry land now, and everyone's all right. And there was a moment when he realized there that actually everyone sort of stuck by him. They could have thrown him overboard. That's the easiest thing that could have happened. The rest could have gone, well, see you later, and just thrown him overboard. You've been nothing but a burden. But they all seem to stick by him, so Silver will remember this, as they say. But yeah, if you want to catch myself, I am hoping, fingers crossed, to stream tomorrow on my Twitch channel, but I'm not sure what. I'm not sure if at this moment. All depends on work tomorrow. So stay tuned to my social media accounts at Peripheral Mike, and you can find out more there. But fingers crossed, I will be returning to the world of streaming then with some additional episodes of Lo-Fi Gaming. So make sure you check it out.
Yay, Return of Lo-Fi Gaming. That's awesome. Thanks, Mike. Always a pleasure. Yeah, Silvo, the only mage who punches himself in the face to cast a sleep spell. Exactly, Rudno. Exactly. Very much accurate. Good stuff. Thank you, Mike. Always a pleasure. Saber, obviously Morthwill. Yeah, Morthwill had, first of all, I love the idea of trying to convince this thing here is the thing that'll tell if you're cursed. And they were like, no, that's not, so it didn't quite work. But then, going down and being in the bilge there with waves, as has been already said, like yelling, screaming, every sound that you can think of while you're trying to drill through the hull. It was interesting because I wasn't sure whether the party was going to, because I could have seen easily the party deciding, all right, we're just going to get on the longboat and then we're going to leave. But then, of course, the lizardmen are on this boat and, the sea ghost. Or I guess I could have seen a combat against the lizardmen that was going to be difficult with that many lizardmen, though. Or I could see, some subterfuge of we're going to put Silvo over the water, but then Brian and Oceana. I didn't know how any of that was going to go. So when it turned out it was let's do this, I'm going to drop the thing down into the hold and create the curse, and then set it up enough that we will be able to go down there and end the curse, and in actuality sink the boat as a result. That to me was a bunch of smart thinking and not necessarily what I had originally expected. And it worked out fine. I mean, you got a little wet there, but it was all right. You managed, and you did manage to get into the boat by just leaping over the side of the boat. So that was good. How did you feel about today's session, and where will the fine folks find you next?
First of all, can you actually hear me? My camera's frozen.
I could hear you. I was
Right.
wondering. I was like, he's just staring me down for the last 30 seconds.
Zoom's got it in for me tonight. But yeah, that was quite a roller coaster because I was thinking, well, on my feet quite a lot there because that wasn't even playing out what I had in mind. I mean, the Screaming Stone was a bit of a Hail Mary when they're like talking about throwing Silvo over the edge. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I could convince them or scare them into just abandoning ship. That was I was actually going into that thinking maybe we can get the ship out of this. That didn't quite go according to plan, but then we had the wonderful moment with Waves just unleashing hell down in the hold, which was funny. Just a beautiful moment. And yeah, it's the good thing. The Artificer class, they get these skills like magical tinkering, which you think, it's a silly little thing that you might use for a laugh now and again. But I'm finding like if you have a little bit of a moment to think, you're like, actually, I can do some quite creative stuff with this. There's been a few moments like that with this class. So it's like it's the simplest little skill, but it's actually surprisingly versatile.
I agree. I like the Artificer. I think the Artificers is actually an underrated class. So yeah.
You say that. I have a cannon now.
Still underrated. That's okay.
Everything
A
gets
cannon
set
makes
on
loud
fire.
noises, my friend. Loud. Oh wait, there's a target there. Noises.
Well, yeah, or a flamethrower, or temporary HP. It depends on how nice I'm feeling that day. But yeah, I mean, having flares along again is always great. It was a fantastic surprise, so I definitely enjoyed that. And yeah, again, just the way, like we grasp onto this like Hail Mary idea, and it just spins off. Next thing you know, everyone's sort of splitting off and like achieving different separate things to get the hold achieved, which was great. Like diving on the boat and taking care of a couple of the guards and getting me back on the boat. Avoiding the bigger boat.
The lizard men falling from the boat.
It was just the whole chain of events from dropping that stone was pretty incredible.
Yep.
Just every part of that was quite a thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week. Oh, not next week, sorry, next time after, or maybe next week. But preferably after a long time by a warm fire for Morthal right now, I think.
It's true. And then got to think about how the party is going to kind of approach the town about, like, what happened? Well,
we found the boat, but we sunk it. Honest.
We promise.
Well, we'll guess that remains to be seen. As for me, I'll be back here tomorrow in this the same time slot as this stream was tonight, and I'm going to be doing a bit of spelunking under Tristram because I'm in the mood to play some more Diablo. And I'll be back on my channel on Thursday, carrying on my playthrough of Siege of Dragonspear. It's Dungeons and Dragons all the way for me at the moment.
It's good stuff. It is never a bad time for more D&D. Thanks, Saber. Good stuff again, as always, today. And again, thank you for Dashboard. And Mubot, as always, too. Last but certainly not least, yeah, I mean, as everyone has commented, Pyron, the waves running back and forth and just like yelling up into the hold, every fight sound ever was really, really funny. But it wasn't the only funny moment because there were all these like chain of event things of like, all right, I'm here, I'm going to get in the boat, I'm going to cut the rope. Okay, the rope snaps, so now you're like they're spinning away. So you're making a dex check while you're still trying to hold on to the half cut. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was going on there, and once again was able to do all of that appropriately, and contributed very much her part because that fight thing really probably sold it, as opposed to the zzz, as like Morthwell is actually drilling through the hull. Waves' particular affinity for sound meant that was going to be covered over, which was really great to see. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
As always, I loved today's session, and I have to mean like the sequel of events, like running up there, jumping into the boat, and then Silvo kicking the winch, and everything.
Oh, I forgot about Silvo kicking the winch with a crit hit too. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And Inanda and Brian Oshinano is like going down with the captain and trying to get this was awesome. I love it. So I don't know yet when the good folks will see me next, but it will happen. So stay tuned. Otherwise, can always be found on Twitter or something, like if you have a question or a short message, just hit me up on Twitter. Like not in DMs, but publicly, please, because I always overlook the DMs, and people are like, I sent you a DM, and I was oh, well, good for you.
5 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. Good stuff, Pyron. As always, a great pleasure to be with this amazing crew. Chat, can we get some love for the amazing D&D with Infinity and Beyond plus one this time. And that, of course, is Pyron Jade, Darksaber 2K, Peripheral Mike, Inanda, and, of course, Fleos. Great work from the whole party. I will see you next month for the Fallout. And, oh, by the way, in case people are curious, the next chapter of Ghosts of Saltmarsh is called Danger at Dunwater. So we will see what happens with the political intrigue as you head back into the town and so on. But thank you so much to, as I say, Pyron, Saber, Peripheral Mike, Ananda, and Fleos. Good stuff, players. I will see you folks soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye.
All right. And that, folks, is going to do it for us over here on the GOG channel. That was a ton of fun. The visuals, I mean, I always love thinking about these visuals that the party is able to get into. And, man, the visual of them just like the tipping boat and then, like, this stuff. And, yeah, obviously, you know, waves just, like, running around and around from place to place. You know, making that noise was very, very funny. So it was great to see them do their stuff. It was great to see them do their work. And yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. Why is Dunwater? Why is Dunwater? What's Dunwater? Where is Dunwater? Exactly. So we will see. It was great stuff. And I also want to thank Fleos for helping keep this surprise and for making time for us. And it's great to have Fleos back in the fold for a couple of sessions with us. So we'll be back with this again next month. Now, as for me, I will be back here next week. I don't yet know if I'm going to be doing any D&D related thing or if it's going to be returning to more Solasta, the Lost Valley DLC. We will see. That's going to be next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. But I do want to say that I am going to be back on my channel tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern because, so just about an hour and a half from now, because I've got a special stream where I'm going to be talking about 5th edition and specifically about my game that I am designing in concert with Aaron Rosenberg and Rich Lescouflair, the Gray Shade 5e game, which is currently being backed on Kickstarter. And in case you're curious about what that looks like, you're like, what Kickstarter amount? What are you talking about? That's the amount I'm talking about. We are currently sitting at 10,254. We are not quite halfway through the Kickstarter now, but we, as you can see, have a long way to go. We've got a $25,000 goal, and we just announced today that we have, so the game has 5 starting classes, but we just announced today that there's going to be a 6th bonus class added when we hit 200 backers, and that the backers will be able to vote on which one of 3 options they would like for that bonus class. In addition to that, we also announced today that originally it was a stretch goal, but is now just a funding goal, that the audiobook that is going to be done by Trendane Sparks, who is the voice of Santiago Espinosa in Battletech. He is also the audiobook narrator for a lot of books from Catalyst. So if you listen to any Shadowrun or Battletech audiobooks, a lot of those are now being done by Tren. Tren is going to be doing the audiobook of Gray Shade as well. So once we fund, then that audiobook will be available for people to be able to get. Right now, if you pledge to the Kickstarter, you can add $10. For just $10, you can get that audiobook when we actually fund. So now's the time to do it. If you want to be able to get a part of this, we really could use everyone to jump on board with that. I just happen to have a link here. I was also allowed to do this very generously by Pyrons. This is why I'm doing that. That's the link, kickstarter.com/project/alligatoralleyent/grayshade. But please go over to that link and please back the Kickstarter if you can, and please spread the word. If you like what you saw tonight, there's a lot more where that came from. The Kickstarter also backs the next 2 books in my series. You saw Fleos holding up the digital of Gray Shade. This is the physical edition of Gray Shade. That book is also available through the Kickstarter, but this was actually published a couple of weeks ago. The next 2 books in the series, though, are coming out via that Kickstarter. So Renegade and Heretic, those are the books 2 and 3. Those are also being funded by this Kickstarter. So you've got an audiobook, you've got the last 2 books in the Grey Assassin trilogy, you've got the 5e game that's part of it. You've even got a coin, limited edition coin that you can actually get too, with Tari Toons, a professional cartoonist folks know have been on this channel before. And that's also available to you. You can pledge for that as well. All of that is going to happen when we get it. So I'm excited. Thank you, Fleos. I appreciate that very much, man. That's very kind of you. I worked hard on it, so I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And so thank you so much for supporting it. And yes, please be more like Fleos. Be like Fleos and everything. You should be like Fleos anyway. He's a really good guy. But beyond that, you could be like Fleos in this regard. So, but seriously, if you can, please back the Kickstarter and please spread the word and let people know about it through Twitter, through Facebook, or any of the social medias. We ask people to use the hashtag Gray Assassin if you can, and please put a link, because the more people we get over there, the better for all concerned. Otherwise, I will be on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on my own channel with Rich Lescoux-Flair and Christopher Negelin from Alligator Alley, and with Brandon O'Brien, some of you might be familiar with from my channel, who is a Trinidadian poet and a game designer and author of some renown. And he is going to be joining me to talk with those other two gentlemen about stuff relating to Gray Shade in the 5th edition version. So you definitely will want to stop by for that. That'll be 9 p.m. Eastern tonight back on my channel. And I'll be back here, as I said, next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern for something, although I haven't decided whether it'll be video game or something else yet. Otherwise, please make sure to follow this channel. Please make sure to sub to this channel if you can. And please make sure to consider subbing to our individual channels as well, because we have our own Patreons and subsystems and Kickstarters that we're running, and that is very helpful to us also. Otherwise, I want to thank the amazing players of Pyron J, Darksaber 2K, Peripheral Mike, Inanda, and of course Fleos tonight. Thank you for the wonderful session. It was a lot of fun to run, and I cannot wait to see what this crew gets into, what shenanigans they get into in our session of this next month. But that's it for me for now, and that's it for episode 333 of Pen and Pixels. See you over on my channel in a little bit, and otherwise see you back here on GOG for more cool stuff tomorrow. I believe Saber is up next tomorrow at the same time I came on, if I'm not mistaken, as Saber was talking about. And then, like I said, back here next Tuesday for more Pen and Pixels from me. That's it. Little pet project that has something to do with clamping down sounds. Yes, indeed. That's exactly right. But that's it for me. Thanks everyone for being awesome, and I will catch all of your wonderful people soon. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.